Before the start of the university semester, the class beauty offered to pay for the entire class to go on a trip to Yemen. She made a bold declaration: "My dad runs a factory over there. If you all go, he'll cover all your food, drinks, and entertainment." I kindly warned everyone that Yemen is a high-risk area with frequent conflict, and it would be best not to go. That very night, I was kidnapped, taken out of the country, and delivered to her father's factory where my organs were harvested. Since you insist on meddling, don't blame me for making the first move. Because of my sudden disappearance, my classmates all cancelled their plans to go to Yemen and, bribed by the class beauty, gave false testimony. In the end, my death was hastily covered up, and my parents, unable to bear the grief of losing their daughter, both succumbed to depression and jumped from a building. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day the class beauty proposed the class trip. 1. In the private room for the graduation dinner, the blast of air conditioning sent a chill down everyone's spine. The class beauty, Lin Wanwan, raised her glass, her cheeks flushed and her voice sweetly tipsy. "To celebrate our graduation, my dad said he'll treat the whole class to a free trip to Yemen. He's covering all the expenses." She swept a triumphant gaze around the room, basking in her classmates' sudden outbursts of gasps and flattery. "Yemen, oh my god, an international trip, Wanwan. Your family must be loaded. What does your dad do for a living?" Lin Wanwan set down her wine glass, the delicate paved diamonds on her nails catching the light. "My dad runs a small food processing plant over there. Think of it as a chance for everyone to broaden their horizons." Food processing plant. Those 4 words pierced my eardrums like a barbed hook. In my past life, it was this so-called food processing plant, a black market hellhole trafficking human organs, that became my final resting place. Beneath the tablecloth, I dug my nails into my palm, the sharp sting forcing the churning thoughts back down. A molten fury of hatred churned in my chest, threatening to erupt. Yet, the most radiant, adoring smile spread across my face. "Wow, Wanwan, you're an absolute lifesaver. I've always wanted to visit Yemen. I hear it's incredibly exotic." I pushed through the crowd around her and was the first to raise my glass. "A toast to you. I'm definitely coming on this trip." My enthusiasm seemed to take Lin Wanwan by surprise. She looked me over, her gaze tinged with curiosity. "In my past life, it was right here that I publicly objected, warning everyone how dangerous Yemen was. As a result, I was taken away that very night and never saw the light of another day." Lin Wanwan quickly set aside her doubts, replacing them with a condescending smile as she clinked glasses with me. "Jiang Ran, it's good that you know what's good for you." Seeing that even I, the nerd who had always been at odds with Lin Wanwan, was taking the lead, the surrounding classmates became even more enthusiastic and rushed to sign up. "Count me in, Wanwan. You're the only one for me." "Sis, I'm going too." "Me too." Looking at their excited faces, I lowered my gaze and drained my glass. It was perfect, in this lifetime. "None of you will escape." The dinner party ended, and everyone went their separate ways outside the hotel. Lin Wanwan's personal driver pulled up to the curb in a Maybach. She rolled down the window and beckoned to me with a finger. "Jiang Ran, get in. I'll give you a ride." I complied and slid into the seat. The interior smelled of a mix of high-quality leather and scented air freshener. "Jiang Ran, what's gotten into you today?" Lin Wanwan asked offhandedly, as if making casual conversation. "Gotten into me? I played dumb. I've always admired you. You're beautiful, your family is wealthy, and you're so generous to everyone." The sincerity and eagerness to please in my tone really hit the spot for her. I was naive before, always thinking good grades were all that mattered. Now I understand that connections and perspective are more important than anything. Lin Wanwan let out a soft chuckle, the wariness in her eyes completely vanishing. "Looks like you've finally seen the light." She thought she had me completely under her thumb, but she didn't know. From the moment I was reborn, the hunter in this game had changed. 2. I went home and locked the door behind me. The first thing I did was take out my phone and search for Yemen travel safety advisories. I wasn't about to repeat the same stupid mistake from my past life. I just quietly read through the gruesome news reports of conflict and kidnapping cases. Even if I'd posted these in the class group chat, it would serve no purpose other than making Lin Wanwan come for me sooner. This time, I'll be the one quietly sharpening the blade. I carefully selected an analysis article about overseas travel insurance and forwarded it to my deskmate, a girl who's always looking to get the best deal, no matter how small. "Ping ping, look at this. If you're going to a place like Yemen, wouldn't you need to get a high-coverage accident insurance policy? I've noticed a lot of insurance companies list Yemen as a high-risk area and just flat-out refuse coverage. Do you think Wanwan will help us get the insurance sorted? Her family is loaded, so I'm sure she will." I sent several messages in a row, each one thoughtfully considering her situation. Ping Ping took the bait. Just as expected, she immediately took my words, twisted them with her own spin, and spread the gossip through a few small group chats. "Girls, I just checked. If you travel to Yemen, insurance companies won't cover you. They say it's a war-torn country. Jiang Ren even asked me if Lin Wanwan would buy insurance for us, as if Lin Wanwan was just being polite. There's no way she'd actually cover everything. A single stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. Before long, someone in the main class group chat tagged Lin Wanwan, hey Wanwan. What's the deal with insurance for this trip to Yemen? My parents are a bit worried. Yeah. Exactly, safety first. Wanwan, will your uncle's company arrange group insurance for us? Lin Wanwan probably never expected someone to ask such a question, as she didn't reply for a long time. The atmosphere in the group chat, which had started out fervent, gradually grew somewhat delicate. I couldn't help but smile. Letting them guess and worry on their own is far more effective than anything I could say. Lin Wanwan, let's see how you're going to get out of this one. Early the next morning. As soon as I arrived at school, Lin Wanwan cornered me at the stairwell. She looked terrible, with faint dark circles under her eyes. Jiang Ren, was this your doing? I blinked innocently. What on earth? Wanwan, I have no idea what you're talking about. The insurance, she hissed, her voice low and sharp. You were the one asking all those questions yesterday. My eyes immediately welled up with hurt. I was just a little worried, so I went to ask Ping Ping about it. I didn't mean anything by it. Besides, so many people were asking questions. Why are you only suspicious of me? My eyes welled up with tears that threatened to fall, making me look pitiful and helpless. Do you really think I'm the kind of person who would scheme behind your back? Lin Wanwan stopped looking at me and instead began fiddling with the bracelet on her wrist. Her expression was one of utter impatience. As if looking at me for a second longer would be beneath her. I hope it's not you, she said coldly before turning and walking away. I wiped away that performative tear and turned my back. Not a trace of that pitiful look remained on my face. Lin Wanwan, don't rush. This is just the appetizer. 3. To reassure everyone, Lin Wanwan posted a screenshot of a purchase record and a link in the group chat. It was the electronic order for the premium overseas travel insurance she had bought for the entire class, with coverage of up to 10 million per person. The group chat erupted all over again. Oh my god, I didn't believe it at first, but I clicked in and found all our names right there on the policyholder list. Everyone's included. See, I told you Wanwan is the most generous. We really misjudged her. Using such a reputable insurance company, we were being petty. Wanwan, I'm so sorry. I owe you an apology. All the previous doubts were instantly drowned out by a new wave of flattery and fawning. Lin Wanwan smugly sent out a red envelope, with the caption, just a little token, hope everyone enjoys it. I clicked on the red envelope and received 3 yuan and 50 fun. Then, I took a screenshot of that insurance policy and sent it to a specific email address. This is a name I happened to hear while drifting through the boundless darkness after my death in a previous life. Shin Che, an independent journalist and private detective dedicated to exposing transnational crime. I heard that his own younger sister also vanished without a trace after one of those so-called free luxury tours of Southeast Asia. In his past life, he had traced the evidence back to Lin Wanwan's father, but without solid proof, he was instead framed and had his reputation utterly destroyed. In this life, I will deliver the evidence right to his doorstep, I wrote in the email. This is likely a forged policy. The real destination isn't a vacation, it's a human slaughterhouse. Attached is a partial list of their merchandise. My classmates, if you want to save them and get revenge for your sister, contact me. I didn't reveal my identity. I used a newly registered, anonymous email address. I don't know if Shinche will believe it, but that was the boldest move I could muster. After sending the email, I erased every trace of it. In the afternoon, Lin Wanwan announced that, to give everyone an early taste of the team dynamic, she's hosting a pool party at her hillside villa this weekend. Everyone who's going to Yemen must attend this party, she said, making sure to add everyone in the group chat. Reading that message, my heart started pounding uncontrollably. In my past life, I didn't go to that party. But the classmates who did go came back even more excited about the trip to Yemen and more convinced by Lin Wanwan. They say that at the party, Lin Wanwan gave everyone an expensive watch as a pre-event gift. It was also after that party that Lin Wanwan made a move against me, because if I didn't go, it would mean I had completely slipped from her control. This time, I have to go. Not only am I going, but I'm also going to give Lin Wanwan a big surprise while I'm there. On Saturday afternoon, I took a taxi to Lin Wanwan's family villa. The car wound its way along the mountain road, with lush green forests outside the window. I received a reply from Shinche. The email contained just one word and an address. Okay, address, no, 17, Xinghu Road, Black Cat Cafe. My heart settled back into place with a heavy thud. The fish has taken the bait, for the Lin family's villa was even more luxurious than I had imagined. A grand fountain, meticulously manicured lawns, and a shimmering outdoor swimming pool. The classmates, already changed into their swimsuits, We're splashing and laughing in the pool, the atmosphere electric with the spirit of a carnival. Lin Wanwan, clad in a red bikini, sat on a lounge chair as if she were the center of the universe, reigning like a queen on her throne. Spotting me, she raised an eyebrow, a hint of mockery playing at the corner of her mouth. Well, Jiangran, you actually had the nerve to show up. I was wearing the most ordinary t-shirt and jeans. Completely out of place amidst the glitz and glamour of this scene. Why wouldn't I dare? You're the one who invited me, aren't you? I said with a smile as I walked over and took a glass of juice from a waiter's tray. I was worried you wouldn't come, Lin Wanwan said, sitting up straight. Go change into a swimsuit and join the fun. She gave me a once-over with a critical eye. It made me feel less like a person and more like an item on a shelf. Waiting for her appraisal, I shook my head. I'm not much of a swimmer, I'll just watch from the side. I found a sofa in the corner, sat down, and quietly sipped my juice. Water splashed in the pool, reflecting carefree faces. It was just like a scene from the Last Supper, and Lin Wanwan was the hunter, cleaver in hand. A moment later, Lin Wanwan walked towards me, carrying 2 glasses of wine. She sat down beside me and handed me one. Try this. It's a Chateau Lafite Rothschild 82, my father's prized bottle. The dark red liquid swirled gently in the wineglass. In my past life, I was far too naive and trusting. In this life, I won't make the same mistake again. I took the glass and, under her expectant gaze, said with a smile, Wanwan, that's so kind of you, but I'm allergic to alcohol. I break out in hives the moment I drink. I'd better pass. With that, I set the glass down firmly on the table. Lin Wanwan's expression instantly darkened. She stared at me, her eyes like chips of ice. Jiangran. Are you determined to be so ungrateful? The atmosphere instantly froze over. The surrounding clamor seemed to fade into the distance. I kept smiling, though the curve of my lips had grown stiff. The hand holding the glass rested steadily on the table, not moving an inch. Wanwan, I just can't drink. Why are you so upset? Or is there some secret in this glass that I'm not supposed to know? My voice wasn't loud, but it carried clearly to her ears. Lin Wanwan's pupils contracted sharply. 5. She stared at me, unblinking. For a full 30 seconds, some classmates nearby noticed the strange tension and turned to look our way. Lin Wanwan suddenly smiled, a hint of something cold and sinister in her expression. Just a joke. Look how scared you are. She picked up the glass of wine in front of me and downed it in one go. If you won't drink it, I will, as if to prove a point. She finished her drink and then held the empty glass up for me to see. It was as if the previous standoff was all due to my own pettiness, but I knew her murderous intent towards me had reached its peak. In her eyes, I had gone from an amusing little plaything to a problem that needed to be dealt with immediately. Midway through the party, Lin Wanwan began handing out gifts. Sure enough, everyone received a luxury watch, each worth tens of thousands. The classmates were practically losing their minds with excitement, and their flattery of Lin Wanwan reached its peak. Wanwan, you're like a goddess descended from heaven. I'll follow you for the rest of my life. When it was my turn, Lin Wanwan personally handed me the box, her face wearing a flawless, perfect smile. Jiangran, this is for you. I opened the box. Inside was a lady's watch set with pink diamonds. More exquisite and expensive than anyone else's. Wow. This watch must cost at least 100,000, right? Ping Ping exclaimed from beside me. All eyes were on me, filled with envy and admiration. I took out the watch and said with genuine admiration, it's really beautiful. Thank you, Wanwan. Lin Wanwan smiled with satisfaction. I'm glad you like it. That's what friends are for. I lowered my head, running my fingers over the cold watch face, a cold sneer forming in my heart. A gift this valuable doesn't come for free. This is a death warrant. The more she tries to lull me with sugar-coated bullets, the clearer it is that her patience is running out. After the party, I excused myself early, saying I had to go meet a relative. Instead of going home, I hailed a cab and went straight to the address Shinche had given me, the Black Cat Cafe. I pushed the door open, and a set of wind chimes gave a clear, tinkling ring. A man in a black windbreaker and a baseball cap sat in the far corner. A laptop sat open on the table in front of him. I walked straight over and took the seat opposite him. Shinche, the man raised his head, revealing a face with sharp features etched with weariness and the marks of a hard life. His gaze was as sharp as an eagle's. It's you. It was a statement, not a question. I gave a nod and placed the watch Lin Wanwan had given me on the table. This is the gift Lin Wanwan gave me today. Shinche's gaze fell on the watch, his brow slightly furrowed. He picked up the watch, turned it over, and gently pried at the back with his fingernail. The watch's back cover snapped open. Inside was not a complex movement at all, but a small, blinking red tracking device. 6. A chill ran down my spine at the sight of the tracker. So, she had already set her trap for me from that very moment. Whether I accepted it or not, that watch would find its way to me one way or another, as long as I wore it. I was completely at her mercy. She's planning to make her move early, I said to Shinche, my voice calm. Shinche's expression remained utterly unchanged. He simply retrieved the tracker and tossed it into a glass of water beside him. Tiny bubbles rose to the surface. The red light flickered twice, then died completely. Her father, Lin Guofu, is an extremely cautious and cunning man, Shinche began, his voice slightly hoarse. His factory never leaves any witnesses. Everyone lured there is officially recorded as a missing person, presumed dead by accident. My sister, Xinyu, was one of them. His tone was flat, but I could hear the immense, suppressed grief beneath it. I checked the insurance policy you gave me. It's a fake, he continued. The underwriting company doesn't even exist. It was a complete and utter scam. What do you need me to do? I asked directly, my expression unchanged. This was the crucial part. Shinche looked at me, his gaze appraising. I need bait. Bait that will make Lin Wanwan and the people behind her let their guard down and reveal themselves. This bait is dangerous. It's a suicide mission. I smiled. I've already died once. I'm not afraid to die again. Shinche's pupils dilated slightly, as if he hadn't expected me to say that. I closed the watch back up and put it back on my wrist. Can you make an exact replica of this tracker, but with the signal under our control? Shinche understood what I meant. I can. Excellent. I stood up. Then let's set the trap. In the following days, I acted like a naive girl utterly intoxicated by sudden, immense wealth. I wore that pink diamond watch to school every day, showing it off to others, whether subtly or overtly. I posted various scenic pictures of Yemen on my social media feed, with the caption, "My heart is already there." I accidentally let it slip to Ping Ping that Lin Wanwan had promised me an internship at her father's factory once we got to Yemen, with the chance to stay on and work there permanently. Ping Ping once again played her role as the perfect messenger. The whole grade knew that I, Jiang Ran, had become Lin Wanwan's most favored lackey. Lin Wanwan grew more and more pleased with me, but the look in her eyes increasingly resembled one reserved for a dead man. The night before I was set to leave for Yemen, Lin Wanwan sent me a message. Jiang Ran, come to my place tonight. My father wants to meet you ahead of time. I stared at the message and took a deep breath. The final showdown was about to begin. I replied to her with a single word, okay. Then, I sent a message to Shinche. It's time to close the net. 7. I arrived at the Lin family villa once again, right on time for our appointment. This time, I wasn't greeted by a party in champagne, but by two expressionless bodyguards in black. In the living room, Lin Wanwan and her father, Lin Guofu, were waiting for me on the sofa. Lin Guofu appeared to be in his 50s, well preserved, with a pair of gold-rimmed glasses that gave him a refined and scholarly air, yet, the way he looked at me was like he was sizing up livestock headed for the slaughter. It was filled with greed and coldness. "So you are Jiang Ran," he said, his voice steady. "Hello, Uncle Lin," I said with a polite bow, projecting just the right amount of nervousness and awkwardness. "Have a seat." I did as I was told, sitting down and leaning forward slightly, all ears and ready to listen. "Wanwan tells me you're very keen to work at my factory," Lin Guofu asked, taking a slow sip of his tea. "Yes, Uncle Lin, I'm a quick learner. I can do anything," I said eagerly, trying to prove my loyalty. Lin Guofu and Lin Wanwan exchanged a glance, each seeing a look of satisfaction in the other's eyes. "What our factory needs," Lin Guofu said, setting down his teacup and leaning towards me with an intimidating presence, "is not learning ability. What we need is a spirit of devotion." He spoke, enunciating each word with deliberate slowness. "Are you willing to dedicate everything you have to the factory?" I looked at him and nodded, feigning innocence. "I am, Uncle Lin. I'm willing to do anything." "Excellent." Lin Guofu smiled. He clapped his hands. Two bodyguards immediately stepped forward, each grabbing one of my arms. My eyes widened in terror. "Uncle Lin, what are you doing?" Lin Wanwan stood up, walked over to me, and looked down at me. Her face was a mask of undisguised cruelty and delight. "What am I doing? Sending you to a better place?" "Of course, Jiang Ran. You're too much of a nuisance. I was going to let you live a few more days, but you just couldn't stop poking your nose where it doesn't belong, so I'm afraid you'll have to take the first trip." Her voice was exactly the same as the one I heard right before I died in my past life. "You've always wanted to visit my father's factory, haven't you? Well, today's your lucky day. The only catch is, you'll be delivered there in pieces, shipment by shipment." I began to struggle violently, tears streaming from my eyes. "No, you can't do this. Help. Somebody help me." Lin Wufu frowned impatiently. "Gag her and take her away." A bodyguard immediately produced a towel and moved to stuff it into my mouth. Just then, the pink diamond watch on my wrist emitted a faint beep. That was the signal Shinche and I had agreed upon. Go time. I dropped the act, my eyes turning ice cold in an instant. The moment the bodyguard got close, I mustered all my strength, driving my knee up hard into his groin. The man let out a muffled grunt and doubled over in pain. At the same time, I snapped my elbow back, driving the hardest bone squarely into the other bodyguard's ribs. Seizing the moment their grip loosened in pain, I bolted like a leopard toward the living room's floor-to-ceiling window. "Grab her," Lin Wanwan shrieked. "Don't let her get away." The sound of shattering glass cut through the silent night, jarring and sharp. I leapt from the second-floor balcony. I landed on the soft, thick lawn below and rolled, absorbing most of the impact. The blare of an alarm suddenly pierced the air across the entire villa complex. 8. Without a moment's hesitation, I took off, sprinting headlong down the hill. Behind me, the furious shouts and pounding footsteps of the Lin family's bodyguards gave chase. The watch I'm wearing isn't the original one. Shinche gave me an identical replica. The tracker inside is linked to his system, providing a stable and powerful signal. As for the real pink diamond watch, the one under the Lin family's surveillance, it's currently mounted on a small drone by Shinche, flying along our pre-planned route to another part of the city. Lin Wufu's men would be lured to the wrong location by that false signal. As for me, I just needed to get off this mountain before they realized what was happening. Behind the villa lay a pitch-black, dense forest, and I plunged straight into it. The dry twigs and leaves underfoot crunched loudly, while behind me, flashlight beams swept wildly through the darkness. Accompanied by the curses of the bodyguards, I didn't dare look back, relying only on my memory of the terrain. I ran downhill. One of the bodyguards was fast. As he was about to catch me, he lunged and grabbed my ankle. I fell forward, my cheek scraping against the rough bark of a tree trunk, the pain sharp and burning. I didn't panic. Instead, I groped behind me, found a sharp rock, and smashed it with all my strength into the back of his hand. The bodyguard grunted in pain and released his grip. Seizing the chance, I scrambled to my feet and kept moving forward. My lungs burned, and my legs felt like they were made of lead, but the instinct to survive, and that bone-deep hatred, were what kept me going. I couldn't stop. I absolutely cannot die by their hands again. Just as my strength was about to give out, a blinding pair of headlights cut through the darkness. A black, rugged SUV executed a perfect drift, screeched to a halt, and came to a stop right in front of me. The door was flung open with a loud thud. Shinche leaned out and yelled at me, "Get in the car," summoning the last of my strength. I climbed into the vehicle. With a roar, the car sped off, leaving a cloud of dust in its wake. In the rearview mirror, the lights of the Lin family villa grew more distant, eventually shrinking to a faint, blurry speck. I slumped in the chair, gasping for air. "Did it work?" I asked. Shinche handed me a bottle of water and gave a nod. "It worked. I edited all the audio from after you jumped out the window, the alarms, their shouts, in real time, packaged it up, and sent it to the police, the disciplinary commission, and the inboxes of a few major media contacts I know. It includes Lin Wufu's own admission about his human slaughterhouse and all the conversations where Lin Wanwan threatened to silence us permanently. The evidence is irrefutable." My whole body trembled slightly from a mix of delayed fear and adrenaline. I grabbed some water and gulped down several mouthfuls. "What will happen to them? The police have surrounded the villa. Signals captured by drones show that the people they sent to pursue you are also under police control." Shinche's tone was calm. "Once the verification comes through from Yemen, Lin Wufu and Lin Wanwan won't have a chance of escaping." My heart finally settled back into place. I looked out the window, and the city lights slowly came into view. It's wonderful. In this lifetime, I have finally seen tomorrow's sun. 9. The car came to a stop in front of a secure apartment building. Shinche handed me a new phone and a clean jacket. "Get some rest here for now. Your family is safe. I've already arranged for their protection. The police will come to take your statement after daybreak." I nodded, looking at him. "Thank you." Shinche looked at the scrape on my face, his expression complex. "I should be the one thanking you. You're braver than I imagined." I entered the safe house and locked the door behind me. I powered on the new phone and tapped into the long-dormant class group chat. It was already in an uproar. The recording Shinche posted was like a depth charge, jolting everyone out of the woodwork. He had edited that recording, and it laid bare the Lin family father and daughter's scheme and cruelty with chilling clarity. From the moment they tricked me into the factory to their threats of having me disassembled. Every single word sent chills down my spine. Oh my god, is this for real? Is Lin Wanwan trying to kill Jiang Ran, trafficking human organs? That's what their family business is. That's terrifying. We almost went to Yemen. No wonder they went to a war-torn country. It was to make it easier for them to act. The group chat was filled with lingering fear and terror. Those who had once sung Lin Wanwan's praises were now as silent as cicadas in winter, and Ping Ping, my former good desk mate, posted a single line in the group. "What about Jiang Ran? Is she okay? Did something happen to her?" No one answered her. Everyone thought I was already dead. I picked up my phone and sent a message in the group chat. "I'm fine. Thank you all for your concern. Also, a friendly reminder to everyone, what happened tonight is just the beginning. Once you step through certain doors, if you're not quick enough, you won't be coming back out." After sending those messages, I left the group chat. I knew that panic and suspicion would spread among them like a virus. They would blame and shift responsibility onto each other. In my past life, they joined forces to push me into the abyss. In this lifetime, I will watch with my own eyes as they fall, one by one, into the pits they dug for themselves. 10. The next day, the news was everywhere. Prominent entrepreneur Lin Wufu has been detained by police on suspicion of transnational human trafficking and intentional homicide, with a large amount of evidence seized from his villa, heiress, and father orchestrate death trip, dozens of high school students nearly killed. News broadcasts showed footage of the Lin family villa being sealed off by police, photos of Lin Wufu and Lin Wanwan, hooded and being escorted into police cars by officers, spread across the entire internet. Their expressions were ones of utter disarray and despair. What a satisfying outcome. As the sole survivor and whistleblower in this case, I was placed under police protection. The officer who took my statement was a very kind woman. She asked me numerous detailed questions, and I answered each one. Of course, I omitted the parts about Shinche and the reincarnation. I only said that I accidentally overheard Lin Wanwan's phone call with her father and sensed the danger. So I made preparations in advance and recorded the evidence. This explanation is perfectly reasonable and airtight. After giving my statement, I saw my parents. The moment they saw me, they rushed over and held me in a tight embrace. Ran, you scared me half to death. My mother's tears soaked through my shoulder. My father stood beside me, his eyes rimmed red, patting my back, unable to speak. In my past life, they had leapt from a high building in despair. Crushed by the double blow of my death and the false accusations against me, in this life, they are still here, safe and sound by my side. It's wonderful. I held them close, overwhelmed by the warmth of having them back, and couldn't hold back my tears. Mom, Dad, I'm okay now. It's all over. At the eye of the storm was the Lin family, yet the aftermath of the storm swept through our entire class. Every student who had signed up for the trip to Yemen was called in for questioning at the police station. The first to undergo a detailed interrogation was Ping Ping. I later heard about this scene from the female officer handling the case. In the interrogation room, Ping Ping initially tried to distance herself from the whole affair. She kept insisting that she and I were close friends, and that she had only asked about the insurance out of genuine concern. The moment the police laid out the evidence in front of her, the records of the transfer she received from Lin Wanwan, along with screenshots of her mocking me and fawning over Lin in a private group chat, she completely broke down, sobbing. She claimed she had lost her better judgment, that she had been blinded and seduced by Lin Wanwan's financial inducements. She even tried to turn the tables, accusing me of having a long-standing grudge against Lin Wanwan. She said I had deliberately led her to raise those questions, using her as a pawn to embarrass Lin. The disgraceful spectacle of them shirking responsibility made the police officers on the scene shake their heads in disbelief. It wasn't just her, the other students' parents were also raising hell. They stormed into the school, not to seek the truth, but to point fingers, each blaming the other's child for corrupting their own. Some parents even got into a public brawl, trying to pressure the school into rescinding their child's punishment. It was an utterly shameful scene. In an effort to distance itself, the school announced that all students involved would face severe disciplinary action. A permanent stain will be left on their academic records. From this moment on, a dark cloud hangs over their once bright futures. They got exactly what they deserved. I feel not a shred of sympathy. 11. The matter did not end there. Before the Lin family fell from power, they made one last, desperate struggle. Lin Wanwan's mother, a pampered lady of leisure, somehow got hold of my home address and showed up at our door. I happened to be home that day. She dropped to her knees with a thud in front of my parents, weeping as pitifully as a drenched pear blossom. Please, I'm begging you, let my Wanwan go. She's just a child. She doesn't know any better. Her father put her up to it. My parents are simple, honest folks. They'd never been in a situation like this before and were completely at a loss. I stepped forward, shielding my parents behind me, and fixed the woman on the ground with a cold stare. Whether she's a child or not, you know the truth. The law will decide for itself. Seeing that I remained unmoved, Lin's mother took a bank card from her purse and thrust it into my mother's hand. There's 5 million in here. It's our family's entire life savings. Please, I'm begging you. Have your daughter change her statement. Just say she misheard, that it was all a joke. My mother recoiled as if burned and threw the card to the floor. I smiled, walked over, picked up the card, and waved it in front of her. 5 million, Mrs. Lin. Do you have any idea how much my heart was worth in your little scheme? How much for my liver and my kidneys, all added up, when your child was planning to carve me up for parts? Did it ever cross her mind that I was my parents' only child too? Every word I spoke was like a knife, plunging deep into Mrs. Lin's heart. The color drained from her face, turning from red to white, and finally to a deathly pallor. Her lips trembled, but no words would come out. Get out, I said, pointing at the door. Before the police come to arrest you for bribery, get out of my house. No, Mrs. Lin scrambled away in a panic, watching her retreating figure. I felt not a single ripple of emotion. Pity often masks a multitude of sins. She turned a blind eye to her own daughter's crime, concerned only with evading blame. Such a person deserves no sympathy. 12. The day of the verdict. As a key witness in this case, I took the stand. In the courtroom, I saw Lin Guofu and Lin Wanwan again. Lin Guofu had lost a lot of weight, and his hair had turned gray, handcuffed. He had lost all the vigor he had that day, looking like a defeated rooster. As the bailiffs dragged Lin Wanwan away, she twisted her head around, glaring directly at me. Her contorted face was filled with pure hatred, her lips moving as if mouthing silent curses. Her whole demeanor suggested she felt no remorse whatsoever, convinced that I was the one who had destroyed her life. In the courtroom, I recounted the entire sequence of events with common clarity. Lin Wanwan finally broke down when my recorded evidence was played in court. "It's you, Jiang Ran, you're the bitch who ruined me," she shrieked hysterically, ignoring the bailiffs trying to restrain her. "I'll haunt you from the grave." The entire courtroom erupted in an uproar over her outburst. This ugly spectacle, in the end, became the most damning proof of her guilt. Lin Guofu remained silent throughout, his face ashen. He knew it was all over. Finally, the court delivered its verdict. Lin Guofu was sentenced to death, to be carried out immediately, on multiple charges including organizing and leading a mafia-style syndicate, intentional homicide, illegal business operations, and organizing others to illegally cross the national border. As an accomplice, Lin Wanwan was sentenced to life imprisonment for attempted murder and illegal business operations. Among other charges, all illicit gains obtained by the Lin family were confiscated in their entirety. A once illustrious and powerful family was utterly wiped from existence. The moment the verdict was read, I saw Lin Wanwan collapse upon hearing it. Before being dragged out of the courtroom by the bailiffs, I just watched her calmly, as if she were a stranger. It was all over. I walked out of the courthouse into the perfect sunshine. Shinche was waiting for me at the entrance. He looked much more relaxed than before. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you, too," I said. Neither of us spoke again. He offered me a cigarette, and I waved it away. Some gratitude and understanding are truly better left unspoken. "Let me share another piece of good news," Shinche said. Following the lead from Lin Guofu, the police were able to connect the dots and dismantle the major criminal syndicate entrenched in Southeast Asia, rescuing many victims just like our sisters. Hearing that news, the last bit of gloom in my heart finally lifted. We're all people who clawed our way out of hell. We understand each other best. "What are your plans for the future?" he asked. "Study hard, get into a good university, stay with my parents, live an ordinary life." I gazed into the distance and said softly, "After all I've been through, I finally understand how precious a simple, peaceful life truly is." Shinche nodded. "Take care, you too." We didn't say anything more. We each turned and walked away, onto our separate paths in life. My university acceptance letter arrived soon after. It was from a school I had dreamed of for a long time. My life was finally back on track. Before the semester started, I went back to the old house, and my parents cooked a whole table of my favorite dishes. At the dinner table, their earlier caution melted away, and smiles returned to their faces. I served them food from the dishes, assuring them I would take good care of myself at school. As the wind blew outside the window, I thought I could hear my past self whispering, "Rest in peace, yeah. Rest in peace. From now on, I'll live a good life for the both of us." Story 2. The restaurant owner downstairs is quite attractive. My son loves her cooking, so my husband paid 50,000 upfront for meals and joined him eating there. 3 months later, both were diagnosed with severe fatty liver disease, and I forbade them from eating there anymore. My husband said I lacked compassion. She's running a small business as a single mom, and her daughter is the same age as our son. What's wrong with supporting her a bit more? My son called me a dictator too, saying, "Just because you can't cook well, you're jealous of others' skills. It's just a bit of fatty liver, what's the big deal?" They utterly despised me. They even hid my cancer diagnosis from me, and after I died, they brought the pretty restaurant owner and her daughter home to live with them. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day the restaurant downstairs opened. I watched as my son ordered the sweetened version of braised pork belly and cheese tteokbokki hot pot. I thoughtfully told him, "If you enjoy it, have some more. You and Dad have been working and studying so hard. You deserve a good, nourishing meal. This time, I'll let them eat whatever they want. I won't pressure them to diet anymore." "Mom, I'm craving braised pork and cheesy rice cakes." My son looked at me with hopeful eyes, and for a moment, I was lost in thought. There was no pain in my body. No tangled mess of tubes, instead of the sterile hospital smell, my nose filled with the aroma of cooking oil from a restaurant. So this was it. I had been reborn, coming back to my senses. I looked at my son with adoration. "Ethan, of course you can. You and your dad have been working and studying so hard. You both deserve some nourishing food to recharge." In my past life, because my husband had a family history of hypertension and diabetes, and both he and our son were somewhat overweight, so I didn't let them order those 2 dishes and instead switched to shredded chicken salad and refreshing cucumber. In the end, I upset both my husband and son, and the diner owner seized the opportunity to wreck the family I'd worked so hard to build all these years. If I could do it over, I wouldn't bother with such a thankless task again. If they want to eat it, then let them have it their way. My son happily said thanks, Mom, then looked up and told the server, "We'll have these 2 dishes." Ma'am, and please make them extra sweet. 1. I followed my son's gaze. The owner, Molly, was writing on the menu with a pen in her hand. Her bun had come loose, with strands of hair falling along her cheeks and a few resting on her lips. I glanced around. The small shop had only 4 tables, and at the moment, our family of 3 was the only group dining. In my past life, I always wondered why she drove herself to such a frenzied state. Now I understand, this perfectly disheveled hairstyle only accentuates her delicate beauty. The dishes arrived quickly, drenched in heavy oil and dark sauce, emitting that distinct artificial flavor of food additives. I had no appetite, but my husband and son couldn't stop raving about the food. Molly graciously served us red date tea, and after pouring a cup for my husband Derek, she said, "Sir, let's connect on WeChat." Friends on WeChat get a 20% discount. In my past life, upon hearing this, I said we were just here to try it out and that our family doesn't usually eat out, but Derek went ahead and added her, then turned around and scolded me for being too uptight. It's just adding a contact on WeChat. Neighbors should help each other out when they can. How old are you? You still don't understand basic social graces. Yes, he's more worldly wise than I am, so much so that just one day later, he lost his head and prepaid Molly 50,000 for meals, using the excuse that our son loves her cooking and the restaurant is conveniently right downstairs. I was furious and told him to get the money back, and then what did he say? The money's already paid. How could we possibly ask for a refund? I just felt bad seeing you work all day in the summer heat and still having to cook for us. I wanted to lighten your load. How can you not see my good intentions? Even our usually obedient son took his father's side this time. Mom, just because you're trying to lose weight to fit into pretty clothes, that doesn't mean the rest of us should have to eat like rabbits every day, right? They seem to have forgotten that I wasn't even overweight to begin with. I only eat grass to keep them company. Thinking of this, I didn't stop Derek this time. After Derek added WeChat, Molly tried to put away her phone. I opened my WeChat QR code. Let's add each other as friends too. Molly was taken aback. No need. You're a family. Just add one person is enough. I stubbornly held up my phone. Her smile slowly faded, and though reluctant, she eventually added me. After leaving the restaurant, instead of pushing Derek and our son to go for a run as usual, I went straight upstairs to take a bath. I also went ahead and scheduled a checkup with a breast specialist for the next day, shortly after returning to the bedroom. Derek came back from showering in the other bathroom. As he moved closer, I knew exactly what he had in mind. Just as I was wondering how to turn him down, his phone suddenly rang. Derek hesitated for a few seconds before answering, and a woman's tearful voice came through. "Mr. Derek, this is Molly. My daughter Lila has a fever. Could you please help me take her to the hospital?" Derek coughed nervously a couple of times. Seeing me staring at him in silence, he replied in a low voice, "Sorry, I'm not really available right now. You should just book a ride through Didi." He hung up in a hurry, muttering complaints under his breath. "Honey, don't look at me like that. I have no idea why she called me either. Some people just have no sense of boundaries." He put down his phone but didn't come back to cuddle with me. Instead, he absent-mindedly flipped through a book without really reading it. Suddenly, our son's footsteps came pounding down the hallway. He barged in without even bothering to knock. "Mom, Lila has a fever," Aunt Molly called Dad, "and you're the one who stopped him from helping, aren't you? You're a mother yourself. I can't believe you'd be so heartless." I set down the magazine I was holding and turned to Ethan. "Who told you that? And how did you know Aunt Molly's daughter is sick?" The son looked a bit flustered and glanced at his father. Derek rubbed his nose and said, "I was the one who gave him Molly's WeChat. Molly mentioned she wanted her daughter to add Ethan, since they're the same age and could help each other with schoolwork." Memories from my past life are still jumbled up in my mind, but one thing I remember clearly is that Molly's daughter, Lila, attended a vocational high school. Meanwhile, my Ethan attends the top provincial high school. What common ground could they possibly have academically? It dawned on me that Molly had been plotting this since the moment she laid eyes on Derek. So when Derek refused to help her, she reached out to Ethan and spun a whole story about me, her own mother. My son was getting impatient and urged Derek, "Dad, hurry up." Derek jumped out of bed and glanced back at me. I waved my hand and said, "Go ahead, helping others is a good thing to do." Derek hurried downstairs with our son. Not long after, I came across Molly's post on my social media feed. In the picture, her daughter was leaning on an 4-drip bed. My son was holding a can of fruit cocktail, and my husband was feeding the girl with a spoon, his face full of concern. The caption read just 3 words, "Pure happiness." The scene looked beautiful, but thinking back to my past life when I lay sick in bed with no one to care for me, I suddenly felt like I'd stepped in something disgusting. The stool was still loose. Early the next morning, I went to the hospital on an empty stomach for tests. When the results came in, The doctor told me with a grave expression that there was a nodule in my left breast. It didn't look benign, and he recommended removing it as soon as possible to prevent it from becoming cancerous. Having a chance to turn things around felt like the greatest blessing life could offer. I scheduled my surgery for next week, went to the office to ask my boss for time off, and wrapped up my current tasks. When I got home at 3 p.m., Derek was giving me a real earful with a face like thunder. "Why didn't you wake me up before you left for work? I was late and got caught red-handed by the supervisor. That guy's 5 years younger than me, but he talks down to me like I'm some kind of idiot. I lost my temper and had a huge argument with him. I'm not going back. Let's see what he can do about it." I sneered while packing my bags and said, "Didn't you explain to him that the reason you were late was because you were playing the Good Samaritan last night?" Taking someone else's daughter to the hospital, sensing my sarcasm, Derek shot me an annoyed glare. He was about to lose his temper when our son, hearing the commotion, came out of his room. "Mom, why didn't you make breakfast before leaving?" "I'm starving." I shot him a glance. "Mom hasn't eaten since morning. Could you boil some eggs so we can have a little something to tide us over?" My son shrugged. "Boiled eggs again? Never mind. I'd rather just stay hungry." My heart sank. Since he wasn't eating, he couldn't be bothered to lift a finger to boil one for me either. I went to the kitchen to grab some milk to drink, then opened the cabinet to pack some face masks into the suitcase. But then I realized all dozen-plus boxes of backup masks at home were gone. Derek ran his fingers through his messy hair. Lila's got a fever and a cough, and I was worried Molly might catch it and have to close up shop. Plus, she's in the kitchen all day frying and cooking. All that smoke and grease can't be good for her lungs. She needs masks the most, and we hardly use ours anyway. So on my way to work this morning, I dropped them off at her place. I was so frustrated I could only laugh. "Are you two that close? You're already late for work, and you're still thinking about bringing her a mask?" Derek was annoyed. "What's with the sarcasm? Are you jealous because she's prettier than you? You've been picking on her since yesterday." Then, as if out of spite, he stood up and gave his son a shove. "Come on, let's go downstairs and eat." His son turned around and let out a sigh, looking at me. "Mom, why can't you speak as gently as Aunt Molly does? Please don't be so hostile toward her. You have no idea how much she's been through." It seems that after last night, Molly has polished her dubious sob story and fed it to those two for their reading comprehension. Even though I've long been disappointed in both of them, hearing my son say something like that still stung. They can see everyone else's struggles, but they've never truly recognized what I've given to this family, never seen my own hardships. Not even when I was packing my bags did anyone bother to ask what I was doing. The door closed, and at that moment, I heard my son ask Derek, "My mom hasn't eaten either. Maybe we should invite her to join us." Without a second thought, Derek replied, "She doesn't even like Aunt Molly's cooking. Why bother inviting her? Let her have boiled eggs at home." My son grunted in agreement. "Yeah, Mom would just kill the mood if she came along." I yanked the suitcase zipper shut with a frustrated tug. "A boiled egg? Why on earth am I eating a boiled egg? I used to be a real foodie too, but I've been eating bland just to keep them company on their diet. Today, I'm going for hot pot." I picked a restaurant, went downstairs, started my car, and just then got a text alert about a 50,000 yuan charge. Right after that, I saw Molly post on Moments. The picture showed a credit card slip with a 50,000 yuan charge. The last 4 digits matched the supplementary card I gave Derek. Her caption read, "Just like a good woman, great taste will eventually be recognized." She even made sure to tag Derek. The desperate, shameless way she was throwing herself at him and provoking the wife made me sick to my stomach. Suddenly, I noticed that my son Ethan had liked that post. Clutching my phone, I couldn't help but recall how Derek and I had a fierce argument over that 50,000 in my previous life. When our son came to break up the fight, I asked him, "Your dad used the money for your summer tutoring, new phone, and new sneakers to top up his account at the diner downstairs. What are you going to do about it?" Our son raised his hand and made a vow. "Mom, I don't need to go to tutoring classes. I'll study hard on my own and promise to come in first place again next semester. I won't even ask for a new phone or sneakers." But sure enough, he kept complaining later that his old phone was too slow and his worn-out sneakers had no support left. I felt bad for him, so I ended up paying for new classes, a phone, and sneakers again, and he happily accepted them. Thinking of that, I immediately logged into the app and deactivated Derek's supplementary card. He's a civil servant with a monthly salary of just over 6,000, and for over a decade, he hasn't contributed a single penny to the household. From today onward, let him and that ungrateful Ethan go spend that 6,000 bucks. When I got home, full and content, Derek was already asleep. He reeked of alcohol. Though he never used to drink, not even when bosses proposed toasts at company gatherings, he never gave anyone the courtesy. Molly's charm is truly undeniable. Derek was out cold, so I picked up his phone. When I opened WeChat, I saw he'd been messaging Molly all day. He complained about my cooking. Molly said, "Not every woman can be both elegant in the living room and skilled in the kitchen. Luckily, we live close by." Derek, if you're not worried about your wife getting upset, You're welcome to have every meal at my place. He complained again about how I'm always pushing him and our son to lose weight. Molly said, lose weight? Ethan is at an age where he's still growing and needs proper nutrition. And Derek, you're not even overweight. A man needs a little bit of a belly to have that authoritative, leadership look. Flattered and charmed by her compliments. Derek deliberately brought up how she was late for work because of him, Molly said, to show my appreciation. Derek, why don't you bring your son over for dinner tonight? My treat, her treat, and he ended up paying 50 grand instead. The next day, I didn't bring up the $50,000, but Derek was clearly feeling guilty because his attitude toward me had noticeably improved. Not only that, but he also started exercising actively with his son. Before, I had to remind him repeatedly every night to take our son for a run. Now, after a quick bite, the two of them would eagerly gear up and head downstairs on their own. Sensing something was off, I decided to follow them. They weren't running at all. They ducked straight into the restaurant. After the two had eaten and drunk their fill, Molly and Lila followed behind with basins of water, gleefully splashing them on their heads and bodies to fake a sweaty, post-run appearance. After all that, the four of them went their separate ways. They stood facing each other in pairs, their gazes lingering with unspoken tension. Watching my son and Derek eat until their bellies were round filled me with pure joy. Since they enjoyed the food so much, I was more than happy to indulge them. So the next evening, I prepared a lavish dinner spread: braised pork ribs, cola chicken wings, steamed hairy crabs, and I even bought a cake. My son was stunned and asked why I had made so much delicious food. I told him, Mom is going on a business trip in a few days and will be away for at least a month. I wanted to treat you and your dad to some good meals before I leave. Both my son and Derek got excited, not just because of the delicious food, but mostly because no one would stop them from going downstairs to visit Molly and her mother. I went to the kitchen to get the soup and overheard Ethan whispering to Derek in the dining room, Dad, how are we supposed to handle dinner tonight? If we eat our fill at home, we won't have any appetite left for Aunt Molly's place. She's expecting us, and she'll be really upset if we don't eat there. Derek replied in a hushed tone, just eat normally, or your mom will get suspicious. After we're done, I'll figure something out. I'm really curious what he could possibly do. When they went for their night run, I followed them again. It turned out Derek took his son to the dumpster area in the complex. The two of them chugged most of a water bottle in one go, then stuck their fingers down their throats. I let out a sigh of relief. They've actually started inducing vomiting. Listening to the relentless sounds of retching, I stood in the shadows, my fingers clenching. They've added yet another unhealthy eating habit, just what I was hoping for. In the following days, the family dining table grew more lavish with each passing day. The father and son were suffering in silence, vomiting after meals at my place only to eat again at Molly's. Watching them grow increasingly haggard, I went into surgery with a sense of grim satisfaction. The postoperative pathology report came back benign. 2 weeks later, I was discharged from the hospital. I got home just in time for dinner. Passing by Molly's shop, I looked through the window and saw that it was completely empty. After 2 weeks of bland sickbed meals, I was craving something tasty and feeling too lazy to cook. I decided to go in for a bowl of noodles. I pushed the door open, but no one came to greet me. But from the back room of the shop came the sounds of my son and Lila roughhousing. I walked over slowly and pushed the door open. It looked like a small living room inside, with a dining table where Molly and Derek sat on one side, and Ethan and Lila on the other. Just like a family, the table was laden with dishes, all loaded with sugar, oil, fat, and cholesterol, in just 2 weeks. Derek and Ethan had gained significant weight, with noticeable double chins and protruding bellies. Even with the air conditioning on, they were both drenched in sweat. Their hair was plastered to their scalps, so greasy I could barely recognize them. During the same period in my previous life, I was away on a 3-month business trip. My daily video calls probably kept them somewhat in check. This time around, I stopped policing their diet. The father-son duo ate to their heart's content, and in just half a month, they'd managed to pack on what would have taken 3 months in their previous life. My son was so out of breath from the weight gain that he could barely speak. Staring at the suitcase beside me, he asked in surprise, Mom, weren't you supposed to be away for at least a month? It's only been half a month. Molly rose to her feet awkwardly and said to Ethan, maybe your mom's business trip was only supposed to last half a month all along. She probably told you it'd be a month to surprise you and your dad. Then, she gave Derek a meaningful look. Derek suddenly seemed to realize something and asked me with displeasure, Valentina, you're using this timing to trick us. Are you trying to confirm something? Molly and I are completely innocent. While you were away, she's been taking care of Ethan and me, making sure we're fed, even if you don't thank her. Can you at least not think so dirty of us? He thought I was here to catch him and Molly. I frowned. The meeting ended early. What's wrong with me coming home? And what's the issue with me stopping by for a bowl of tomato noodles on my way? Besides, you already paid $50,000 for meals. Isn't it Molly's job to cook for you and your son? Why should I thank her? Derek's mouth twitched when he heard the mention of the $50,000. He hadn't expected that I already knew. Perhaps afraid that Molly would think he couldn't make decisions involving 50,000, he fell silent and dropped the subject. But my son said to me, "Mom, Aunt Molly didn't prepare any food for you again today. You'd better eat somewhere else." I was baffled. Aunt Molly runs a restaurant. She cooks whatever customers order. Why would we need a reservation? My son tried to say more, but Molly stopped him. She bit her lip. "Valentina, if you want to eat, I'll make it for you right now." She went into the kitchen as if she'd been deeply insulted, and her daughter followed to help. Derek started complaining to me, "Valentina, you always say outside food isn't clean, so why are you making her serve you?" Now he's calling me by my full name instead of honey or dear. I was taken aback. She runs a business. Isn't this exactly how she makes her living? She can cook for you and your father. She can serve other customers. Why does ordering a bowl of noodles from me warrant the word serve as if it's some kind of favor? Just then, Lila came out with red-rimmed eyes, placing the bowl of noodles in front of me. "Auntie, here's your noodles." My son asked her, "Where's Auntie Molly?" The young girl's tears began to fall. My son walked into the kitchen, his broad back like a wall, nearly blocking the doorway. He took one look and came out to say to me, "You made both the mother and daughter cry. Are you happy now?" My temper flared up. What are they crying about? When did I ever bully them? Lila cried even harder, sobbing as she told me, "Auntie, please don't be angry. It's all my mom's fault." Ethan pulled her behind him protectively and said to me angrily, "Mom, today is Aunt Molly's birthday. This is our family dinner, yet you come here ordering her to make noodles for you. I know you have a good job and earn well, but you don't have to act so high and mighty to insult others, do you?" Seeing my own son, whom I raised with my own hands, being so aggressive, I couldn't hold back any longer. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. "Ethan, and you call yourself an honor student. You can't even use the term family dinner correctly. Did all that education go to waste?" Seeing me hit her son, Derek slammed his hand on the table. "Valentina, have you lost your mind?" Molly rushed out from the kitchen, tears streaming down her face like pear blossoms in the rain. "Sis, if you're upset, take it out on me. Don't hit the child." Lila buried her head in my son's arms, trembling. Auntie's anger is so scary. Watching this display of maternal affection and filial devotion, I realized that even after living 2 lifetimes, Molly had still outsmarted me. It was the first time I had ever slapped Ethan since he was old enough to understand, and it happened in front of Lila. He was both shocked and humiliated, started lashing out without thinking. "Mom, look at yourself. What's the difference between you and a shrew? Your name is Valentina, and you're just as domineering as it sounds. You're nothing like Aunt Molly. Her name is lovely, and she's beautiful and gentle. No wonder Dad doesn't want to come home. If I had a wife like you, I wouldn't want to come home either." My heart ached with a sharp pang. To avoid crying in front of Molly, I grabbed my suitcase and left. When I turned around, I noticed a pile of unwrapped gift boxes by the door. They were presents from my coworkers after they found out I was sick. Since I was in the hospital, I asked them to contact Derek to receive the gifts. Later, my colleagues told me that Derek had them leave everything at Molly's diner for safekeeping. To my surprise, Derek took it upon himself to give all of it to Molly. It suddenly dawned on me that the flowers in Molly's vase, the necklace around her neck, Lila's bracelet, and even the dinnerware on their table, all were gifts from my colleagues to me. They had carefully chosen each item based on my preferences, just to make me happy. Before I could even ask, my son spoke up, noticing my gaze fixed on the gift boxes. "Mom, these were indeed meant for you, but you have so much jewelry already. What's 2 less pieces? And let's be honest, your cooking doesn't do justice to such beautiful dishes." I thought they'd suit Aunt Molly and Lila better, so I went ahead and gifted them. "And Mom, Dad had nothing to do with this. Don't overthink it." My tears suddenly stopped. I don't feel like crying at all anymore. Molly was taking off her necklace. "Sorry, Valentina." Ethan was so insistent. I couldn't say no, so I accepted it for now. "Let me give it back to you. Don't worry about it," I said with a smile. "It's nothing valuable, since my son thinks it suits you. Consider it a gift. Happy birthday." Molly's face fell. I pushed the door open and walked away, leaving her staring in disbelief. Back home, I sorted through my savings. All these years, I've been working my fingers to the bone, and every penny I earned went toward paying off the mortgage and car loans. I just finished paying off 2 loans last year, so I don't have much left in savings. All my bank accounts combined only add up to a little over 500,000 yuan. I originally planned to use this 500,000 for my son's education, fully supporting his studies so he could get into the military academy he's always dreamed of. Now it seems that won't be necessary after all. I opened my phone and immediately booked a flight for the next day. Then I called my boss and told him I wanted to extend my leave to go out and take a break. My boss was extremely concerned. "Valentina, are you okay? Didn't you say this afternoon that the nodule was benign? Why the sudden urge to travel and see the world?" Just look, even a boss with no blood ties to me is worried about me, yet my husband and son are busy worrying about another woman. I reassured my boss that I was just tired, and since there wasn't much work on my plate lately, I'd take some proper time off to rest and come back to work once I'd recharged. Only then did the boss hang up the phone, feeling at ease. Not long after, Derek came back with his son. My son shuffled over to me awkwardly, his breathing heavy and labored from his weight. "Mom, I'm sorry, I was wrong to say those things to you. I felt nothing, not even a ripple of emotion. I'm sure Molly put those words in his mouth, just to make herself look gracious in front of him and his father." Derek couldn't hold back any longer. "He's already apologized. What more do you want? And by the way, I just found out you froze my card. What's that about?" I looked up. "You just noticed today." "Oh, I get it. After you spent $50,000 at Molly's restaurant. You were afraid I'd catch you if you kept swiping the card, so you held back. So what made you try using it again today? Wanted to buy Molly a birthday gift, didn't you? Your own salary wasn't enough, so you thought of using my card, only to find out it's been frozen." Derek frowned. "What do you mean your card? This is our joint marital property." I chuckled. "Since it's joint marital property, you shouldn't be thinking of using that money to court another woman, otherwise. If I ever get fed up and decide to reclaim it, you'd be pretty embarrassed." I went back to packing my luggage, and this time my son asked me, "Mom, you just got back. Where are you going now?" "Going on a trip." My son's eyes widened in disbelief. "Mom, you were gone for 2 weeks, didn't leave a single penny for Dad and me, froze your credit card, and ignored all our calls. I thought we were completely broke. And now you have money to travel. Just look at that. That's my wonderful son for you." I hadn't answered calls for 2 weeks, and instead of worrying about my safety, the first thing on their mind was money. Looking at his small eyes made even smaller by his chubby face, I didn't want to engage with him. My son suddenly changed his tone and started whining. "Mom, you haven't signed me up for any tutoring classes, my phone is lagging, and my sneakers are worn out." I cut him off. "I told your father long ago that he should use his supplementary card to pay for these expenses. But he gave all the money to Molly instead. If you want to do these things, go ask Molly for the money." Our son's reaction was exactly the same as his father's in the previous life. "Mom, how could you do this? Who asks for money back after giving it away? If you have money to travel, you can certainly buy this for me. Besides, you must be spending a fortune on your trip. How are Dad and I supposed to get by?" I let out an even louder outburst than his. "Ethan, when your father recharged 50,000 for the downstairs, you weren't nearly this worked up. I thought you were the type to see money as dirt. I never realized you cared so much about it. If you care so much about money, go ask your father to figure it out. All these years, he hasn't contributed a single penny to this household. The house, the car, and everything our family wears, eats, and uses. I've worked hard to provide it all. What's wrong with me taking a trip? Who are you to stand there and tell me what to do?" I pushed past my son and walked out the door, pulling my suitcase behind me. As I drove out of the neighborhood, my headlights swept across the scene, and I spotted Lila. She was wrapped in the arms of some punk-looking guy, puffing away on a cigarette, a far cry from the pitiful, delicate girl she'd pretended to be in the store. "Ethan, is this the girl you're so into? Do you have any idea what she's really like?" I flew to several cities and soaked up the sun on beautiful beaches. During that time, the father and son kept calling and video calling me, but I ignored all their attempts. They then started bombarding me with one WeChat message after another. Derek accused me of squandering money to hide marital assets, threatened to divorce me, and insisted on reclaiming half of everything I'd spent during that period. I'm not the least bit afraid. Derek hasn't paid a single cent since our son turned 3, with his salary and bonuses averaging $70,000 a year. He owes me an explanation for where over $800,000 has gone in the past 12 years. Derek keeps bringing up divorce, but I keep brushing it off. Out of the blue, Molly sent me a WeChat message. She told me Derek had fallen for her and asked me to back off. She even used that tired old line, "In matters of the heart, the one who isn't loved is the real third wheel." On top of that, she sent me photos of my son and her daughter getting all cozy together. Ethan has gained a lot of weight, with layers of fat on his belly, and his neck is barely visible anymore. What absolute nonsense. "See, both your husband and son are with me now, body and soul. What do you possibly have to fight me with?" 3. She finally couldn't hold back any longer. This time, I replied to her, "Molly, don't act so high and mighty. The only reason you fell for Derek is his money. You're nice to my son just to win him over. You never truly cared about Derek or Ethan, did you? If you really love them, then let them walk away with nothing. If they agree, I'll sign the papers right away, but I bet you don't have the guts. Besides, if you don't mind being the other woman, I don't mind calling you little sister. Life is life. Who you spend it with doesn't really matter. Divorce is such a hassle. In a couple of years, when Derek's had his fun, he'll come back eventually. As for Ethan, I'm not worried at all. He'll always be my son, though. If he ends up marrying your daughter someday, You might just get to hear him call you Mom." Molly went quiet. I couldn't help but smile, imagining her trembling with anger. I know Derek all too well. There's no way he'd tell Molly that I'm the one who earned the house, the car, and all the money. Molly thinks Derek made all that money. If she had any foresight, she'd definitely advise him to walk away with nothing, based on what I've learned about Molly lately. I actually think she's capable of pulling that off, and she actually went for it. She's been treating my son and Derek better and better, constantly flooding her social media with updates about their family of 4, aside from the daily barrage of high-calorie food posts. The things she shares are downright bizarre. When Ethan didn't want to study, Molly deliberately spilled soy sauce on his test paper and captioned it, "It's not that I don't want to do homework, the soy sauce won't let me." When Derek had a disagreement with his young supervisor, she supported his decision to skip work and posted, "A man who stays home is the handsomest and gives the greatest sense of security," and so, with her silver tongue, Derek called me. He wants a divorce and is leaving with nothing, but he has one condition: our son goes with him. I know exactly why Derek and Molly want to keep Ethan close. At 16, he's just 2 years from adulthood and requires minimal effort to raise. Besides, Ethan is a straight-A student who consistently ranks first in his class, though he favors military school. With a bit more effort, he could easily get into top universities like Tsinghua or Peking, so by holding on to Ethan, Lila is essentially securing her future. I couldn't wait to get rid of that little wolf cub, so I immediately bought a plane ticket and flew back. On the very day I got home, I rushed to the Civil Affairs Bureau before closing time to file for divorce. The annoying part is that there's a mandatory 30-day cooling-off period for divorce. To keep him from backing out, I went to Molly's shop every day to eat and pick fights, making myself out to be a total shrew. Compared to Molly's gentle and tender nature, I doubt even digging up Derek's great-grandma from her grave to beg for reconciliation would make him take me back. But what I never expected was that the divorce never went through, because before the 30 days were up, Derek was dead. He died in Molly's shop. Rumor has it that they were having a meal at the restaurant that day when a man burst in. The man turned out to be Molly's ex-husband. He accused Derek of seducing his wife and proceeded to beat him mercilessly. Derek had been a key player on the university basketball team back in the day, but years without exercise had eroded his skills. Packing on at least 50 pounds recently didn't help. He went down after just a couple of moves. Later at the hospital, doctors determined that his death wasn't caused by Molly's ex-husband's beating. The actual cause of death was a cerebral hemorrhage, due to a family history of the condition. Because he currently has hypertension, hyperlipidemia, and hyperglycemia, because he had been drinking that day, because he was too emotional. Derek's death is undoubtedly connected to Molly's ex-husband as well. However, since he was broke and drowning in debt, he couldn't offer any compensation. But the good news is, the so-called ex-husband Molly referred to never actually finalized their divorce. He had Molly open a restaurant in that upscale neighborhood just so she could snag a wealthy man to support their whole family. In the previous life, it was the same man who kept coming around demanding money and causing trouble, which is why Molly wanted to sell the shop. But before she left, she still had to take a cheap shot at me, making Derek and my son think I was the one harassing her. Molly doesn't have much money either, but her little shop is still worth tens of thousands. Later, she begged me in tears to let her keep the shop, offering to write me an IOU. In the end, we reached an agreement. Her ex-husband got 3 years in prison, and she wrote me another IOU for 200,000. 200,000 isn't much, but for that scumbag Derek, it's a fortune. After Derek died, Ethan refused to say a single word to me, as if I were the one who got his father killed. He treats Molly's place like home and my place like a hotel. Many times after work, I would see him standing outside the restaurant grilling and selling skewers. It suddenly dawned on me why he resented me so much. He must have thought that by working and earning money, he was repaying the 200,000 that Molly owed me after his father's death. If I had given up on seeking compensation, he wouldn't have had to suffer so much. But I stubbornly refused to let it go, so he resents me. Another semester ended, and Ethan's teacher called me. His grades weren't good enough to make the school's honor roll, and even in his class, he was only average. The teacher was shocked. Ethan's mom, he always asked me to contact his dad. I've talked to his father many times about his academic issues, but there's been no improvement at all. Now that his father is gone, you're the only one I can reach out to. Ethan's grades have plummeted more dramatically than any student I've ever taught. And wasn't he planning to apply to military academy? But at today's school physical, he was over 60 pounds overweight. He's not even an adult yet and already has 3 high-risk health indicators. His liver enzymes are shockingly elevated. Ethan's mom, you need to take action immediately. If this continues, he won't just ruin his future, he'll destroy his health too. I told the teacher I would talk to Ethan, but he won't give me the chance. I thought about it and just let it go. After all, in my past life, I had breast cancer. And he and his father, out of hatred, never even told me to get treatment, so in this life, it's only fair that I don't bother with him, right? I suspect the homeroom teacher couldn't bear to let Ethan go and had another talk with him personally, because during that winter break, Ethan visibly lost weight. However, he's become increasingly irritable. He also frequently suffers from sleepless nights. I checked Molly's social media feed. Turns out she's been preparing healthy meals for my son's weight loss plan lately. It's just low-fat, high-protein meals with extra vegetables, no different from what I used to make for my kids. I was skeptical. How could this diet plan be so effective? Later, that question was answered. One day, Ethan's homeroom teacher called out of the blue, saying he had collapsed in class. I rushed to the hospital, where Ethan was undergoing emergency treatment. The doctor told me his liver and kidney functions were failing, and the situation was critical. I panicked and asked the doctor how this could have happened. The doctor said, based on the test results, it appears to be caused by long-term medication use. We're still waiting for specifics on which drug exactly. It suddenly hit me, his recent drastic weight loss. I called the police right away. Just as the police were taking Molly away from the diner, Ethan's lab results came back. The banned weight loss drug ingredients are what caused his liver and kidney damage. This drug doesn't just harm the liver and kidneys, it also damages the heart and brain. After an all-out rescue effort, the doctors finally managed to pull my son back from the brink of death. Seeing Ethan lying there on the bed, barely clinging to life, broke my heart. All the resentment I'd held against him from our past life seemed to vanish into thin air. At the police station, Molly quickly confessed. She admitted to secretly dosing Ethan's meals with drugs, hoping it would make him lose weight faster. However, given the long-standing feud between our families, the police didn't close the case hastily. They dug deeper and uncovered that Molly had intentionally poisoned him. She didn't gain any advantage from Derek and his son. Instead, she ended up losing $200,000. She knew her husband well. Once his 3-year sentence was over and he was released, there would be no place on earth she could hide from his revenge. That's why she resents me. And Ethan too, but Ethan, after coming to his senses, couldn't accept this outcome. He stubbornly insists that I bribed the police to frame Molly and deliberately have her charged with a serious crime. His face was now twisted with rage, and the most venomous words spewed from his mouth the moment he opened it. Valentina, are you trying to get Aunt Molly killed? Who do you think you are? You're the one who deserves to die the most in this world. If it weren't for you, our family of 4 would have been living happily long ago. You're always so controlling, trying to dictate everyone's lives. Back then, you forced me and Dad to eat healthy meals and run every day to control our weight. The one time we managed to sneak downstairs for some decent food, you threw a tantrum and threatened to run away. And even Lila's demon of a father, you're the one who brought him back into our lives, aren't you? Wasn't it enough that you let him destroy Dad? Now you want to destroy Aunt Molly too. I was utterly stunned. Ethan, did Molly tell you all this? Wake up, can't you see she's brainwashed you? Ethan was panting with rage. I'm not that stupid. This is all your fault. If you hadn't insisted on making the homeroom teacher talk to me and force me to lose weight, would Aunt Molly have been so desperate to give me those pills? She did it for my own good. Why are you accusing her of trying to harm me on purpose? So it turns out I'm just a big joke. I had already forgiven him from my past life, but in this life, he's making me hate him all over again. But a mother's love runs deep, so I still paid his medical bills in full and told him our bond as mother and son had come to an end. Ethan's ties weren't just severed with me, his connection to this world was gone too. He was discharged from the hospital. He rushed to find Lila, only to discover her in the back room of a small diner, disheveled and entangled with a local troublemaker. The young man claimed to be Lila's boyfriend, but Ethan didn't buy it. The two of them got into a fight, but Ethan had just been discharged from the hospital. He was no match for the guy. In no time, he collapsed to the ground. Lila had someone throw him out and even kicked him in the face. Meeting you was the worst luck of my life. To be honest, I never loved you. This is my real boyfriend. Take my advice. Stay away from me from now on. I received another call from the doctor. By the time I rushed to the hospital, Ethan was already in a deep coma. The doctor said he was brought in for external injuries, but then he got so enraged that he had a heart attack and a cerebral hemorrhage. There was no point in attempting resuscitation. I asked the doctor, did he leave any last words? The doctor said, when he was conscious, he kept calling for his mother, saying, "Mom, I'm sorry." As soon as the doctor finished speaking, as if finally at peace, Ethan took his last breath. I held him in my arms, whispered, "But Mommy can't forgive you anymore." My darling, Lila, who was over 16 but under 18, was sent to a juvenile detention center. The youth who got into a dispute with Ethan was sentenced to 2 years in accordance with the law. Molly from prison gave me that little diner. She rented the place, but it'd still fetch a decent price if sold. While sorting through things at the diner, I found love letters from my son to Lila in the back room. Every page was filled with a young boy's purest and deepest affection. He worried she'd get a stomachache from not dressing warmly enough, so he always kept hot water ready for her, but Lila preferred ice-cold water and found his constant fussing annoying, concerned that staying up late would harm her health. He'd repeatedly text her during her night studies urging her to go to bed early. In the end, Lila thought he was nagging and snapped that he was acting like an old woman. I read page after page, tears streaming down my face. Oh, my child, if only once, you could put yourself in my shoes and imagine being in Lila's position, then you wouldn't resent me for pushing you to lose weight. Some truths only become clear to you on your deathbed, but what good does it do then? By then, it's all too late. Story 2. Scorching heat was about to strike, and fortunately, I had stocked up 2 large boxes of mineral water thinking of opening a beverage shop. I asked my mom to keep it a secret, but she sternly said, "Everyone is short of water now. How can we be so selfish and only think of ourselves?" Ignoring my pleas, she opened the door and generously let the neighbors rush in and take all the water. Soon, our family faced the predicament of severe thirst. My siblings developed high fevers, and my dad was so angry he wanted to hit my mom, scolding her for acting like a saint. How could I know that Elise would not keep even a little for herself? She was the biggest liar when she was a child. Crying, my mom blamed everything on me, forcing me out of the house to find water. With a pounding headache under the scorching sun, my phone kept ringing in my pocket, pushed by her urgent calls. Eventually, I collapsed just a few meters from home, with no one to claim my body. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day before the heat wave. This time, I'll let my mom, the saint, go save everyone herself. What beverage shop are you talking about? Didn't I tell you to help out at your uncle's farm? Can you just spend your salary however you want, ignoring your own neighbors and only thinking about making money from others? How cold-hearted. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw my mom scolding me furiously, looking at me as if I were an enemy. In my previous life, I wanted to open a beverage shop, but since I handed over my salary to my family every month, I had to ask my mom for some money. I tried to convince her that a beverage shop would surely make money during the summer because of the high foot traffic, but she flatly refused and insisted that I help out for free in our neighbor's uncle's fields. I had no choice but to use the tiny bit of living expenses I squeezed out to stock up on 2 large boxes of mineral water. Unexpectedly, the next day the temperature soared, and the city faced a once-in-a-century extreme heat wave. While I was relieved I had stocked up on 2 boxes of water, my saintly mother gave it all away to others. Then she turned around and pressured me to continue searching for water, which eventually led to my painful death under the scorching sun. Thinking of this, I suppressed the hatred in my heart and said sarcastically, "Of course, I have the right to decide how I spend my money. If you're so capable, go help out at Uncle's. Are you only good at bossing me around every day?" My mom was stunned. She never expected me to speak to her in that tone. I was supposed to be her most compliant and hardworking eldest daughter. "Fine, I'll go. I'm old enough to die out there. Let me make you happy." My mom fiercely took off her apron and threw it in my face before storming out the door in her slippers. I didn't follow her. Instead, I turned and went into my parents' bedroom, opened the drawer, and took out all the cards where my salary was saved. I didn't want to stay in this house anymore. I wanted to stock up before the apocalypse. As I walked out the door, a slap landed on my face. "Why are you so heartless? Not at all like my child." My mom, eyes red with anger, punched me repeatedly, venting, "Can't you just be kind? Kindness won't kill you, but sanctimony might." As my mom was about to slap my face again with all her might, I swiftly dodged. She lost her balance and fell to the ground, crying out in pain as she touched her sore back. In the past, even if she hit me, I would have hurried to help her up, but this time, I just watched her coldly. "Mom, this pain you feel is nothing compared to what I've suffered. Moreover, you brought this upon yourself." With that, I turned and left the house. The apartment is over 100 square meters with 3 bedrooms and a living room, fully equipped with all necessary living facilities. More importantly, there's a huge underground cold storage. Without hesitation, I signed a contract with the landlord to lease it and immediately hired professionals to reinforce the structure. I also installed a solar generator to ensure there would be no power outage when the apocalypse comes. The most scarce resource in a high-temperature apocalypse is water. So I went to a wholesale beverage market and bought 50 cases of mineral water, juice, Sprite, Coke, and milk. Then I rushed to a large supermarket and stocked up on 20 cases each of instant noodles, ham sausages, self-heating hot pots, self-heating rice, and various other fast foods, as well as 20 carts of fruits and vegetables. I also filled 10 large freezers with frozen dumplings, chicken, duck, fish, and ribs, choosing only the flavors I liked. How can one binge watch shows without some snacks? I decided to make up for all the snacks my parents wouldn't buy me during the first 20 or so years of my life. I bought 10 refrigerators worth of ice cream and also stocked up on dried meat, candied fruits, biscuits, cakes, boneless chicken feet, and other seasoned foods. Next, I went to the pharmacy to buy essential medicines like menthol oil, Huashengxingqi water, ibuprofen, and more, looking at my fully stocked warehouse, which had been empty just this morning. I felt satisfied that these supplies would last me at least a year. When I finally left my house, it was dusk, yet the temperature was still unbearably high. The streets were full of people sweating profusely, all hurrying home, almost melting from the heat if they stayed out too long. After a day of running around without eating, I checked my bank balance, which still had over 2,000 left. I turned around and entered a high-end restaurant with an average cost of $18.88 per person, where the delicate flavor of French foie gras astonished me. After eating, I visited various boutiques. I vengefully bought back all the toys, dolls, and accessories I loved as a child. Just as I was heading home loaded with bags, my sister called. At home, my sister has always been the kindest to me, seeing me as a role model and always helping out silently whenever our parents asked me to do chores. She was admitted to a prestigious university, was beautiful, spoke softly, and was great at dancing, once popular throughout the entire school. Unfortunately, we had a sanctimonious mother. In her sophomore year, my sister was in a car accident, and the driver compensated us with a significant amount of money. This money should have been used for my sister's surgery, but my mother gave it away to a neighbor's child to study abroad. My mom said, "When you were little, they gave you a piece of candy. We're just repaying their kindness so we can be guilt-free," but this delay in treatment resulted in my sister's right leg becoming disabled, and she could no longer dance. "Sis, what's going on with you and Mom?" my sister asked worriedly. "She said you had a big fight with her this morning and then left. We haven't been able to contact you since, and we're really worried." I scoffed. "I think she'd be happy if I died out there and never came home." "How could that be?" "Mom is making chicken soup in the kitchen right now. Come back and have some. I'll save you a chicken leg." My sister's understanding always touched my heart. I agreed, planning to take this opportunity to pack up the 2 cases of water at home, most importantly, to take my sister with me to survive this apocalypse. As I reached the ground floor of my building, I saw the familiar group of neighborhood ladies sitting together, fanning themselves. Upon seeing me, they sneered with disdain. "This girl is truly heartless. Her mom fell down this morning, and she didn't even help her up." Yes, I saw her mom screaming until her throat was almost raw, and she just walked away without looking back. There's no helping it. Some people are just heartless, ungrateful, and lacking in conscience. TSK, I think such a person will eventually face retribution. Struck by lightning, they cursed me freely, considering themselves paragons of justice. Yet these people have never hesitated to take advantage of my family. As the apocalypse approached, they didn't leave a single drop of water for my family. Taking everything clean, I walked over and said, "Mrs. Wang, you mentioned last year that you wanted to buy a car for your son, didn't you? Didn't you borrow 50,000 from my family and have yet to return it?" The woman, who had been speaking animatedly, suddenly fell silent upon hearing this. She glanced at me warily and retorted with wide eyes, "What about it? Your mom said she wanted to help our family through tough times. She's not as heartless as you." I laughed. "Don't get me wrong. I just remembered that your son recently got married and had a child. Isn't there a need for a nanny and various nutritional supplements? It just so happens that my mom is free. Why don't you let her come over and help out for free? Plus, I recently bought her a lot of bird's nest. Just ask her for it. She'll definitely give it to you." The ladies fell silent. I wanted to see if my altruistic, saintly mother would maintain her composure when her own possessions were at stake, the same composure she preached to us about. Then, I walked upstairs and entered my home. As usual, my father was out drinking and playing cards. My brother, who was in high school but not focusing on his studies, was sprawled on the couch playing video games. My mother's bedroom door was tightly closed, and in the kitchen, bustling about, was my poor sister. "Sis, you're back," with sweat on her brow. My sister smiled and waved a spoon at me. "Sis, I've made your favorite cola chicken wings, a special extra dish just for you." "Esther, are you crazy?" my brother suddenly yelled. "Those chicken legs and wings were meant for me. I'm in high school and need the nutrition. Why did you decide on your own?" Unapologetically, my sister retorted, "Because all the money in this house is earned by our sister alone. You keep complaining but never put effort into your studies, always ranking at the bottom. I think you just like being servile, using my stuff. You're just cheap," my brother said as he kicked his slippers at my feet. "Mom said I'm under a lot of stress from studying. You should go buy me the latest gaming console. Your paycheck is almost due anyway." My forehead throbbed with veins. If it weren't for another purpose for this visit, I would have liked nothing more than to give this little brat a proper lesson. Okay, don't worry, I'm planning to work even harder to get a promotion and a raise. I'll give you all my bonus next month. Forget one gaming console. Whatever you want, I'll buy it for you. At that, my mom's bedroom door opened. She came out with a stern face, yet couldn't suppress a hint of joy in her eyes. How much is this bonus likely to be? Around 10,000. I looked at her and smiled. More than that, tens of thousands, almost as much as my annual salary. My mom gasped. What are you waiting for then? Shouldn't you be rushing back to work? Quickly, my sister limped out of the kitchen and brought the dishes to the dining table. Mom, I was the one who asked sister to come back today. Let's clear up any misunderstandings. It's not easy for her. Let her have a good meal. Reluctantly, my mom agreed. At the dinner table, she brought up the matter of helping out in my uncle's field again. If you agree to help your uncle, I'll consider your debt paid off. Helping others won't cost you a limb. I've already spoken to your uncle. His lungs aren't good. You'll handle the fertilizing. Eating bitterness is a blessing. Why don't you understand that? Girl, my mom sternly glanced at me, took the chicken leg that my sister had just served me, and gave it to my brother. Then she placed a plate of salty pickles in front of me. Let Cyrus eat the nutritious stuff. It's not that I'm biased, but he's under a lot of pressure from high school studies and needs the nutrition. Yet I remembered, back when I was in high school, Mom used to say, let Cyrus eat the nutritious stuff. He's young and needs to grow. Still, what was placed in front of me was the same hard, bitter salty pickle. My brother, taking advantage of the situation, spit a bone towards me. I'm the only hope for the family's future. Why should you two cheap things eat chicken legs? Looks like I'm always at your service, I joked. No worries, sis. The braised chicken wings I made especially for you are ready, my sister said, struggling to stand up from the table and limping out of the kitchen with a plate of delicious-looking chicken wings. Mom, my sister has been eating at the cheapest cafeteria at work. It hasn't been easy for her. Stop playing favorites, will you? This time I won't eat. Let her have my share. Okay, but her plea did nothing to soften our mother's heart. As my brother drooled over the chicken wings, Mom didn't hesitate to dump the entire plate into his bowl. I couldn't stand it anymore. I sent a message in the community group saying that my mom, the Great Samaritan, was giving away free birds' nests. Soon, the corridor echoed with praises and footsteps. When my mom saw Mrs. Wang, who came with her son to collect the bird's nest, and other neighbors looking to benefit, her mouth hung open wide enough to fit an egg. After learning what was happening, she was visibly furious but still had to put on a friendly face to greet them. I could, but you all know Elise, she has a temper, and she might not be willing to give away the things she bought for my health. My mom looked at me helplessly, trying to make me play the villain as I had in the past, fiercely protecting her interests. I used to do just that, risking everything to protect this family, and though she was pleased inside, for the sake of her reputation, she would still slap me hard. Then with teary eyes, she would scold me as a money-grubbing beast. Eventually, under everyone's intervention, she would reluctantly leave the items, but this time, I just laughed and pushed my bowl forward. Of course, I don't mind. Mom, you're so noble, willing to give away your share to others. Go ahead and tell them where you've hidden the birds' nests. My mom was speechless. The other neighbors excitedly nudged her. Come on, Esme. We're waiting. You're really generous now, big girl. Unlike your unlikable self before, I pretended not to see the smoke coming out of my mom's nostrils and, imitating her modest acceptance of praise, I said with a smile, oh, all credit goes to my mom's good upbringing. Watching her walk into the back room with difficulty, I almost burst out laughing. When the neighbors finally left our house with their loot, my mom was so angry that she was frothing at the mouth. I pretended not to notice and turned around. I've got to go. I need to work overtime at the office. Sis, I might have to work more. Can you come and stay at the company dorm to take care of me? My sister agreed without hesitation. Of course, sis. It's summer vacation anyways. I'll cook and do the laundry. I'll do everything. And Mom didn't object, thinking of one less person to feed at home and more space for her precious son. She quickly agreed. All right, I'm entrusting her to you. I'm getting old and can't keep up anymore. Mom glared at me and sighed. Just make sure to send money. Of course, I agreed readily. She didn't know that when the end of days came, the balance in the bank account, no matter how large, was just a string of numbers. What people really needed were supplies. It was already past 8, and I hurriedly packed our usual items and summer clothes. My sister sneakily packed all the snacks from home into her suitcase. Despite it being night, the temperature was rising. With every step we took, sweat poured from our bodies. I started the car at home and loaded 2 boxes of water from the basement. With my sister, I left at home for good. By the time we reached the cold drink shop, the outside temperature had reached a terrifying 50 degrees Celsius. The streets were filled with the panicked screams and desperate shouts of pedestrians, and the temperature was still climbing crazily. The heat apocalypse had arrived. I turned on all the air conditioners in the house and made 2 cold drinks, one peach-flavored, the other watermelon. I pondered how to gently break all this to my sister. She stood silently in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the heat waves outside. The city now seemed like it was inside a giant furnace, with the asphalt road sizzling and emitting smoke, and bundles of scorching heat rising into the air, forming massive clouds. Suddenly, my sister turned around and spoke first. "Big sis, these scenes, it feels like I've dreamt them before. I also dreamt that Mom gave all our water to the neighbors. She kicked you out to find water. And you never came back. Then she pushed me out too, and I watched helplessly as my skin sizzled under the sun, screaming in pain, while Mom just watched from behind the window. My sister's body trembled slightly, and I stepped forward, holding her hand tightly. That's all in the past, Esther. Those were our past lives' experiences, but this time, I've made thorough preparations. I won't let us go through that again. As for Mom, I can't bother about her anymore." A hint of red welled up in my sister's eyes, and she said resolutely, "You've always been the one playing the role of a mother, caring for me. She doesn't deserve to be a mother." Moved. I nodded energetically, handed her the cold drink, and picked out 2 ice creams in flavors we both liked. Then, we each took a plate of spicy crawfish and turkey noodles to the bedroom and blissfully turned on the projector to binge watch our favorite shows. It was like living a dream, a perfect day at home. Soon, our phones rang. It turned out that our mother, oblivious to the situation, was sharing her happiness in the neighbors' group chat. The attached picture showed our little brother with his face greasy from eating, with piles of chicken legs and wings in front of him. Mom typed with satisfaction, "My son is so amazing. He ate a whole chicken by himself, and his sisters didn't even get to gnaw on the bones." Mom probably didn't realize that this might be the last chicken they would eat. The neighbors, still basking in the joy of having just moved a bird's nest from our house and feeling smug about it, commented, "Having a boy is great. Being able to eat well is a blessing, and he's tall and strong. Cyrus has been promising since he was little, chasing dogs around at such a young age. He's surely destined for greatness." With the demeanor of an emperor, only ancient emperors would dare to eat alone. Having a son to carry on the family line means he should eat more. Truly envious of your family having a successor, but soon, someone realized something was off. Why do I feel it's getting hotter, like being in a steamer? My mom just threw up from the heat. Just now, the news said our city is facing a once-in-a-century extreme heat wave, and people have already died from it. My God, I just pulled back the curtains and looked outside. It's like a volcanic eruption. The apocalypse is here. Everyone was panicked, all in disarray. What do we do? My fridge is almost out of vegetables, and we don't have enough water. My phone signal is bad too. I'm really afraid of losing water and electricity. Suddenly, a neighbor tagged my mom, "Esme, do you have anything left to drink? We're not picky. Anything drinkable will do. Everyone knows you're warm-hearted. You've always helped everyone. What food or meat do you have left now? Thanks so much." At critical times, we still rely on you as our pillar. I nearly died laughing with my sister. I opened another bottle of cold Sprite and handed it to her. Our mom must be floating on cloud 9 from the praise. She's probably rummaging through everything right now, but Dad should have already rushed home. He won't let Mom mess around. According to Dad, Mom is full and messing around, dominating at home, pleasing others. I must say, these descriptions are quite spot on. Soon, Mom called me, "Elise, it's too hot now. Hurry and buy some ice cream wholesale, and also water. Get 10 cases, distribute them to the neighbors, doing good deeds. Take your sister with you. The 2 of you can move faster together. Hurry up, the neighbors are all waiting. This scorching heat is really killing me. I can't even tell if she's really my own mother. It's like she's ready to sacrifice her own daughter's life. A mere word from an outsider can send us through fire and water for her." I leisurely turned on the camera. Sister, my sister was still eating Haagen-Dazs. Caught off guard and not even having time to lick the ice cream off her lips, the background showed a spacious and comfortably decorated room, styled for a young girl, with a huge teddy bear lying behind her. This was nothing like the old, cramped dorm room my mom imagined we were crammed into. Her eyes widened. I even deliberately said to my sister in a leisurely tone, "Are you cold, little sister? Do you want an extra blanket?" Immediately, my brother snatched the phone from my mom, "Elise. Esther, you 2 cunning girls, where have you hidden to enjoy yourselves? How come you even have Haagen-Dazs? Does Esther even deserve to eat it? Stop right now. That's all mine, Mom. You need to discipline them. I want to eat Haagen-Dazs too, and I want to eat more and more expensive ice cream, and I want to live in a luxury house too." He threw a tantrum, flailing and rolling on the floor, trying to wrap us into submission like before. "I want ice cream and Coke now. Buy it for me. And it must be cold, or I'll kill myself." But Cyrus didn't realize, the only ones you can push to the brink are those who love you. Only family who loves you would compromise over and over without setting boundaries. It's not out of fear. I purposefully turned to my sister. "How about we have hot pot tomorrow? I've already prepared beef slices and pork belly rolls. What else do you want to eat? Just grab anything from the storage." My sister and I exchanged looks. both struggling to suppress our grinning faces. Sure, sister, I'd also like a cold milk tea. I'll make one for you too in a bit. This beverage machine is so easy to use. No problem. With that, I hung up the phone lightly and turned it off. That night, my sister and I, each in a large room, slept comfortably under the air conditioning. I remember, ever since we were young, we were squeezed into a small bed in a storage room, while the spacious rooms and big beds were given to our brother, later. When our dad got laid off and received some severance pay, we scraped together money to move to another house, but Mom said my brother needed a study room, so my sister and I were still crammed into the darkest and least ventilated room. As I grew older, I was sent to live in a dorm, by which time I had already taken on the burden of supporting the family. I would sell sunflower seeds and water right after class, and wash dishes in a small restaurant after school and on weekends. Every time I came home with my hands swollen and numb, I would see my brother laughing happily in my mom's arms. Mom didn't know how much I longed to be loved. Thankfully, all that is in the past. And I have finally escaped the quagmire of my dysfunctional family. I turned over, wiped away my tears, and drifted into sweet dreams. The next day, my sister and I each had a refreshing, fragrant iced milk tea, enjoying hot pot and watching movies. When we got tired, we checked the neighborhood group chat to see what was going on. As expected, it was all about asking my mom for food. Esme, you made a whole chicken for your son yesterday. There must be some left, right? My daughter-in-law just had a baby. She needs nutrition to ensure sufficient breast milk. You must help. My grandson just started middle school. He is growing. Esme, do you have any milk? I always tell my kids to go to you. Auntie Esme, you're the most helpful. Our family is really struggling right now. You see, actually, the neighbors still had food at home. But everyone realized the severity of this natural disaster and wanted to stock up as much as possible for their families. Only my naive mother still tried to play the generous host without the means. She bravely announced, "Everyone, stay calm, I have a plan." Then she called me again. As soon as I answered, I could hear my brothers roaring on the other end. "I won't eat leftovers. That's what you feed dogs or give to beggars. I want ribs, roast duck. Let those two wretches come back and cook for me." He kicked the table legs violently until my dad, unable to bear it anymore, slapped his hand on the table to quiet him down. "Elise, you see what's happening at home. We've never had the habit of stocking food." My mom's tone softened a bit, speaking earnestly. "The other neighbors are the same. Now we can only get by on leftovers from the day before yesterday. Overnight dishes generate nitrates, which are bad for the health. Can you bear to see this? We're all neighbors. How would you feel if someone got sick because of this?" I really wanted to laugh. For a long time, my sister and I have been living on leftover food from our family. Even though we are the ones working and earning money, all we get to eat are the bones and scraps left by our brother. Back then, my mother never mentioned the dangers of overnight dishes and insisted we finish everything to avoid wasting food. "Mom," I said calmly, blowing on my nails, "who asked you to give all the nutritional supplements I bought for you to the neighbors? And the Peking duck I bought for you? You gave it to Uncle to nourish his health. Who's to blame for your generosity?" At that, my dad exploded. He was already irritable from the hunger and heat, and hearing this made him even angrier. He stormed over and grabbed my mom's hair, slapping her across the face. "Easton, are you having an affair with him? You really have too much time on your hands. Can't you see our own family barely has enough to eat, yet you give everything away? Maybe I've been too lenient with you." Tears streamed down my mom's face as she fell to the ground, looking up at my dad with tearful eyes. "I didn't. I just thought we should help our neighbors when we can. They might remember our kindness. What good does their gratitude do? Didn't you see the messages in the group chat asking for food? If I hadn't blocked the door this morning, people would have barged in looking for food." "You stupid woman," my dad shouted. My mom was hurt and full of grievances, and she wanted to call my brother for help, but my brother was even more resentful that she had given away his beloved Peking duck, and he didn't even glance her way. My mom didn't know who to turn to, and finally, she directed her anger at me. "Fine, Elise, it's all because of you. You selfish, heartless creature. You're a curse. Believe it or not, I'll smash your bedroom and let everyone know what a thankless wretch you are. You'll never be able to hold your head up again." I just moved the phone a bit further from my ear. Outside, the sun blazed even fiercer. Although it was early morning, it felt like broad daylight, the light glaring. "To hold your head up, you'd need to be alive first, right?" From the other end of the phone, I heard my mom's hurried breathing. She was truly frightened. It turns out she also fears abandonment, fears death. But has she ever considered whether my sister and I are not afraid? "Mom, if you want to be a saint, I won't stop you. If not, you can emulate the ancients, cut off your flesh and bleed." Soon, just like in a previous life, a fault caused by the high temperatures occurred. My family and the neighbors found themselves in a terrifying situation, that is the lack of electricity, with air conditioning working intermittently. This was undoubtedly a fatal blow in such hot weather, especially today. Someone in the group chat said that Grandma from 502 died of heat stroke at home. Everyone was really plunged into a panic about death. Due to the high temperature, the body couldn't be moved quickly and started to decompose, spreading a foul smell throughout the building. For a while, many people blamed Easton's son and daughter-in-law, urging them to quickly remove the body. His daughter-in-law was fierce, cursing directly in the group chat. "I didn't want this either. She was my mother. Are you all even human? My mother cared for your families when she was alive. And now that she's dead, you despise her so much. I think your day will come too." She silenced everyone in the chat with her cursing, then suddenly changed the subject. "Isn't Esme's niece a science whiz? She must know how to fix the electrical circuits. Let her fix the electricity for everyone." I was eating jelly when I heard this and almost spit it out, and this brilliant idea somehow received unanimous support. I couldn't take it anymore and spoke up in the chat. "Is your suffering caused by me? Is your hardship because of me? Why should I always sacrifice my own interests for you?" I tagged each of those people. "Mrs. Song, 2 years ago, you said you needed to change houses and borrowed 80,000 from me. You haven't paid it back yet, but you still have the nerve to ask me to continue helping you. I can't believe I've been unknowingly earning money for you. And when my sister had a car accident, the compensation from the driver was meant for her medical bills to save her leg. How dare you even think of using that money to fund your own child's education abroad? Aren't you afraid of karma? Uncle, you earn tens of thousands every month just from rent, and yet you're too stingy to hire someone to help with fertilizing and expect me to do it. Do you think it's my duty to be at your beck and call, Grandmolly? Ever since we were kids, you loved dropping by with your granddaughter to our place to take things, my sister, and I hadn't even gotten to use our new stationery before you took it. How can you be so shameless?" I vented years of accumulated grievances in an impassioned speech, and gradually, like extinguishing a fire, the neighbors dared not speak, but I never expected that my mother would stand up and turn her fire on me. Like a valiant warrior, "Don't listen to her, everyone. My daughter has been hoarding supplies and hiding out. She doesn't even care about our family anymore," she declared. "It's really heartbreaking, after all the love and care from childhood, not depriving her of anything, and to end up raising an ingrate. You don't know. I thought since we are all neighbors, she could come and help everyone out a bit, but instead, she outright refused and even blocked me." The chat group erupted. Everyone's fear and panic from the natural disaster turned into fury towards me. "Elise, you lowlife, hurry up and bring back all the water and food. Where did she get those supplies? She stole them from us. They were ours to begin with. She knew about the disaster beforehand and didn't tell anyone. I think this catastrophe is connected to her. She's a jinx. Our misfortune is all caused by her." I underestimated how shameless my brother could be, envious of my better life outside. He posted various inappropriate photos of me from our childhood in the group chat, photos he must have secretly taken. He even had a photo of me dressing in the bathroom after a shower. He brazenly announced, "Let's go. Those of us in the group with some courage know where Elise is now. Let's take back what's ours." My callous brother's call to action was met with a chorus of agreement, but the only one who actually stormed out of the house, ignoring our parents' pleas, was him. The temperature outside had soared to extremes, hot enough to melt iron instantly, let alone a human body. He heroically charged out with his phone, intending to livestream beating me up until I was crawling on the ground, but that scene never came to pass, because just 100 meters from home, my brother lay dead on the ground, his body emitting puffs of white smoke. From the balcony window, everyone could see, from that day on, the neighbors' group chat gradually quieted down from righteous indignation. Only the building manager numbly kept tally each day of how many had died, some from starvation, others from the heat, and some from sudden illnesses, but nobody clamored to dispose of the bodies anymore. In the face of disaster, human morals seemed less significant. What everyone desperately sought was to survive at all costs. One night, a woman in the group let out a piercing scream, saying her husband was trying to kill her, and begged for help from the neighbors, but soon after, her voice messages stopped. Instead, a text message appeared, "I'm fine. My husband just apologized. We were just playing around." But her next-door neighbor quietly started a new chat group, mentioning a pungent smell of blood seeping from under her door. This was the proud, happy neighborhood and family life everyone boasted about. Eventually, my parents regretted their actions, tearfully sending messages, their voices hoarse and weak. "Elise, we know you're the most filial. You won't just watch us die, right? Please, help us. Elise and Esther, can you bear to see your parents die?" At that moment, my sister and I were DIYing an ice cream cake together. She liked chocolate, and I preferred matcha flavor. Seeing no response from us, my dad suddenly grabbed a chair and violently smashed it on my mom. With a crisp crack of bones, my mom screamed in pain and fainted. My dad, seemingly trying to appease, quickly grabbed the phone, her cloudy eyes magnified in front of us. "Elise, Dad knows you hate your mom the most. She is as dumb as a donkey, caring for others while her own family starves. No, Dad is avenging you. Let's reconcile. Just you and me." "Okay, all the past incidents were because Dad didn't know. If he had known, he would never have let your mom mess around, that wretched woman." But have we reached a point today where he can truly claim to be detached? It has always been Dad's negligence, his temper, and his indulgence that have driven us to this point. In elementary school, when my sister and I were bullied, Dad only cared about drinking and playing cards every day, and Mom would just tell us to endure, scolding us that it was our own fault for provoking others, that we deserved it. Later, in middle school, I was harassed by a sleazy middle-aged man on my way home from school. I barely escaped and ran home crying, hoping Dad would pick me up from school, but he just kicked me away and spat with a sneer, "A liability, you'd end up with a man sooner or later, why make such a fuss about it?" Then he used this as an excuse to extort a large sum of money from the neighbor and left it at that. Those times of absence, the absence of fatherly love, he can't make up for them, and they can never be redeemed. Dad, do you know, in another time and place, Mom forced me to go out and fetch water. I cried that it was too hot outside, that I would surely die from the heat, I said softly, tears uncontrollably streaming down, and then, you were there, suggesting, if not, just sell her to a neighbor, getting some water in exchange would be worth it. Mom and Dad, did you ever really treat us as your daughters? My sister came over and hugged me tightly. I finished speaking and then hung up the phone. From that moment, we blocked everything related to home, Mom and Dad. This was the last time we called you. 13. Half a year later, the disaster finally subsided. The damage caused by the disaster was undoubtedly devastating. The number of deaths and missing persons was countless. Only a few truly survived. All the residents of our building were wiped out. This disaster made us witness the dark and terrible side of human nature. In the face of survival, people can be ruthless, violating all moral and ethical codes. My sister and I didn't go to the police station to claim the 3 mutilated bodies. Instead, we packed up and left this place. We moved to the city in the south where my sister went to school, a city of clear mountains and waters. We opened an ice cream shop and started a new life. During the day, while my sister was at school, I would work in the shop with a few hired staff. In the evening, she would come to help, and we would go home together after work, sometimes walking shoulder to shoulder. We marveled at how unreal our beautiful new life seemed. It was almost like a dream. All of the past had completely dissipated, and tomorrow, it must be filled with flowers and sunshine. And, a text from an unknown number, 10 days until the zombie siege. My name is Fiona. Due to the pandemic, my company shut down, and I returned home with a severance of 50,000 to take it easy. Today marks the 8th month of my unemployment. I've been married for 6 years. Have a rambunctious 4-year-old named Dean, and my husband, Damien, was my middle school classmate. After having our child, we moved back to our small hometown, a rather insignificant 18th-tier county. Having been unemployed for a long time, my mental state has been unstable lately, fluctuating between self-motivation and self-doubt. Recently, I've developed a fondness for mindless zombie apocalypse stories. After dropping Dean off at school, I return home to continue my laid-back lifestyle, lounging on the sofa and indulging in my apocalypse narratives. Remembering that breakfast was still keeping warm in the pot, I fetched it and made myself a comfortable cup of coffee to enjoy even more relaxation. While eating, I heard the ping of a message on my phone but didn't pay much attention. Returning to the sofa with my breakfast, I noticed a message from an unknown number stating, 10 days until the zombie siege. Casually tossing the phone aside, I continued eating, thinking about how unsafe the internet has become, considering that my personal information got leaked just from following apocalypse stories. My day of relaxation ended when I went to pick up Dean from school, and the busy part of my day began. Damien, who works in e-commerce, is usually very busy but earns a decent income for our small town. Last night was October 20th. Marking the first day of the Double 11 shopping festival, Damien came home past 3 in the morning, and he slept through the morning while I felt uneasy after dropping Dean off at school, sensing that something was about to happen. Sometimes, you have to admire a woman's intuition. Just after I got home, my phone pinged again with a message from the same unknown number as yesterday, 9 days until the zombie siege. Receiving the message 2 days in a row annoyed me, so I called the number, ready to confront whoever was behind these messages for being so bothersome. However, the number turned out to be disconnected, and after several attempts, I was always greeted with a message stating the number was not in service. Confused, I quickly grabbed my tablet and searched major platforms for any official announcements or breaking news, but after 2 hours, I still found nothing useful, which only intensified my unease. Checking the funds on my phone, we had nearly 1 million in savings from 8 years of work by Damien and myself, intended for buying a house in the city center to provide better educational resources for Dean. As I was pondering this, Damien woke up and asked, "What are you daydreaming about?" I immediately handed him my phone to show him the messages from the past 2 days and mentioned, the sender can send messages, but when I try to call back, it says the number is not in service. Damien also tried calling a few times. only to receive the same notification of a non-working number. 2. Stock up on food and supplies. After a moment of silence, Damien spoke up. Let's rent a place in the new city first. We plan to buy a house, but under these circumstances, renting is cheaper. We can use the rest of the money to stock up on supplies. Currently, we're living in a self-built house by my parents at the edge of the town. With dense housing and poor planning, if zombies really do show up, it'll fall quickly. Without further ado, we drove to the new city before Dean got out of school. The area, planned in recent years, has many apartment buildings but a low occupancy rate due to ongoing construction of surrounding facilities. With most people waiting for the completion of these facilities before moving in, we went straight to a real estate agent and specified our requirements. Hello, we want to rent an apartment. It needs to be on the top floor, no less than 180 square meters. Preferably with one apartment per elevator or two at most, with good security including elevator card access. If it's suitable, we can finalize it today. Upon hearing that the apartment could be secured today, the agent promptly prepared the necessary documents and keys, mentioning, "The requirements are not tough. This area is a new town, mostly purchased by investors for rental purposes." During the tour of the apartment, the sales agent briefly shared some details. This apartment complex is developed by a state-owned enterprise, currently with a 23% occupancy rate. It's on the top floor, 21st floor, with 2 apartments per floor, covering an area of 253.65 square meters. It's decorated in a minimalist Nordic style, fully furnished with all appliances, ready for immediate move-in. The apartment met our needs perfectly. We didn't negotiate the price and agreed on a deposit and payment scheme of 2 months rent up front, totaling 15,000 yuan. Although it's in an urban area, the city is a Tier 4 city, so the rent isn't very high. After the agent left, I mentally noted the details of the apartment. 1. The front door is a double security door with a steel core, which is quite safe and doesn't need replacing. However, it needs an additional smart peephole and surveillance system. 2. All the windows currently have standard double-glazed glass, which I plan to replace with bulletproof glass. The new setup should include a hidden wire mesh for added security, especially to safeguard against human nature post-apocalypse. 3. The curtains inside need to be replaced with thicker blackout curtains, with an extra set as backups due to wear over time. 4. The apartment has a whole house water filtration system, but extra filters and cartridges will need to be purchased. 5. Storage space in the apartment is insufficient. Additional shelving units will need to be ordered. 6. There is no solar power setup, so solar panels and storage batteries need to be purchased. After analyzing the apartment, we left and changed the door code. On the way to pick up Dean from school, I grabbed some snacks since I hadn't eaten all day. Why do I know about these renovations? Before I lost my job, I was a cost engineer with 8 years of experience, familiar with building structures. Damien, driving, told me, I'll handle the home renovations and stocking up on supplies for now. I need to wrap up some work at the company over the next few days and then I'll apply for my annual leave. I gladly accepted the arrangement. The next day, after dropping Dean at school, I received a text from an unknown number saying, 8 days until the zombie siege. The call to the number indicated it was out of service. I immediately contacted a familiar window contractor to help measure and replace the glass, and to install a hidden wire mesh for added security. Citing the presence of a child and plans to get a husky as reasons for needing safer windows, I told the contractor, we're eager to move in. I hope it can be completed in the next couple of days. The contractor assured me confidently, you can count on me. After paying a 50,000 yuan deposit, I stopped by a nearby home goods store to order custom storage shelves. I provided the owner with rough sketches and dimensions, emphasizing the urgency and hoping for delivery in the next 2 days, for which I paid a 5,000 yuan deposit. Next, I went directly to a curtain store, selected the style, and had the owner come to my house to take measurements. I mentioned the urgency of the installation and requested an extra set, explaining that a friend in the opposite building, with the same apartment layout, had asked for my help in choosing curtains. I paid a 10,000 yuan deposit, and the owner agreed to install them by the next evening. After the owner left, I stopped by a convenience store to buy some bread and water for lunch. After a short rest, I went out to purchase 6 sets of 6,000 W solar power generators with 600 W wind turbines for a complementary wind solar power system. I arranged for the installation of 3 sets and kept 3 sets as spares, purchasing an additional 8 storage batteries. After paying a 50,000 yuan deposit, I scheduled the installation for the next day, October 23rd, non-stop. I went to pick up Dean from school. Damien was working late and wouldn't be home for dinner, so I took Dean to his favorite tea restaurant, thinking it might be our last visit for a while. Once Dean was asleep that evening, I started making a list of supplies to stock up on, considering that it was already October 22nd. And there were only 8 days left until the zombie siege indicated by the message. The main channels for stocking up are major online platforms and supermarkets. The list includes, purchased in batches online and from supermarkets, 50 bags of rice, 30 kilograms each, 100 packs of noodles, 3 kilograms each, 30 bags of flour, 10 kilograms each, 5 boxes of salt, 20 cans of oil. Various spices, 2 boxes each, 25 boxes of self-heating hot pots, 25 boxes of self-heating rice, instant noodles, sour and spicy noodles, snail noodles, sausages, and various other instant foods, 50 boxes total, various military canned goods and compressed biscuits, 10 boxes each, green beans and soybeans, 10 bags each, for making bean sprouts and other bean products, purchased online, 10 tubes of facial cleanser, 10 sets of skincare products, 30 boxes of face masks, 30 boxes of facial tissue, 30 packs per box, 30 boxes of toilet paper, 30 rolls per box, 30 boxes of sanitary pads, various sizes, 10 bottles of body wash, 10 bottles of shampoo, 10 bottles of laundry detergent, 20 sets of toothpaste and toothbrushes, 15 sets for adults, 5 sets for children. This comprehensive list ensures we are well prepared for the upcoming crisis. For children, I've purchased 5 sets of items including 20 boxes of bibs, 10 bottles per box, 300 rolls of face towels, 500 disposable compressed towels, 100 packs of various types of trash bags, 4 rolls per pack, 10 boxes of family planning supplies, 30 packets of hand warmers, 5 buckets of 420L water storage, and 5 buckets of 200L water storage, online shopping included, 5 drones, 3 telescopes, 2 high-powered telescopes, 10 Bluetooth speakers, 10 flashlights, 7 electric heaters, 7 fans, 5 air purifiers, 10 hot water bottles, 50 power banks, 2 radios, 10 high-definition surveillance systems, 5 electric water heating rods, 10 sets of beddings, 6 sets of quilts, 10 USB drives, 2 computers, already have 2, and 2 tablets, already have 2, from a physical store. I bought 30 cartons of cigarettes, 30 lighters, planning to live with my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and brother-in-law, 20 boxes of candles, 15 boxes of matches, 10 boxes of smokeless charcoal, and 10 boxes of various batteries, along with 2 fridges. We already have one at home. From the pharmacy, I bought 15 boxes each of antibiotics, cold medicine, and fever medicine. For both adults and children, 10 boxes of alcohol, 50 bottles of vitamin C effervescent tablets, 30 rolls each of medical gauze and bandages, 20 packs of medical masks, 8 adult, 2 children, 18 anti-poison masks, 15 adult, 3 children, 8 buckets of disinfectant, a box of Florida water, a box of essential balm, and 10 packs of cotton swabs. At the wholesale market, I purchased 20 chickens, 50 strips of fresh fish, 20 pounds of beef, 10 pounds of lamb, 50 pounds of pork, 10 trays of eggs, 30 eggs per tray, and 5 pounds each of tomatoes, cucumbers, sweet potatoes, carrots, and other vegetables, plus various seeds and 10 bags of planting coconut soil. From the water station, I acquired 150 buckets of 18L bottled water. From the supermarket, I obtained 20 boxes of 5L mineral water, 4 bottles per box, 20 boxes of 555 milliliters mineral water, 24 bottles per box, 10 cans of children's milk powder, 10 cans of adult milk powder, 10 boxes of room temperature milk, various drinks like sparkling water, cola, Sprite, and tea, 2 boxes each, and 3 boxes of white spirit can be used as a disinfectant. After organizing everything, I realized I had a lot to buy, so I immediately started purchasing online from various platforms with the goal of using various credit facilities. The delivery address was our rural urban house. Once everything arrived, I moved it to the new house to avoid drawing attention. Online purchases totaled yen 102,300. After placing the orders, my credit balance was nearly depleted, and I dozed off on the sofa, not sleeping well through the night. In the brief calm before the storm, I rapidly dropped Dean off at kindergarten and started a busy new day. A mysterious text arrived on schedule. 7 days until the zombie siege. I tried calling back, but it was a dead number. As I ate breakfast, I pondered our next steps to ensure our family's safety. The day was bright with drifting clouds. I was interrupted by a phone call from the window installation technician saying he'd arrive in 40 minutes to install the glass. Today, I decided to head to the new house first to establish our security measures. At the community entrance, I waited for the technician because materials required a homeowner's signature for entry. After having breakfast, I hurried to the new house. The refrigerator and portable air conditioner had already been delivered, and the solar panel installer was waiting at the entrance of the residential community. After signing the paperwork, we headed to the new house together. Soon after, the curtain installer arrived. Watching the busy technicians at work around the house gave me a strong sense of security. The refrigerator was set up and tested without any issues, and I paid the remaining 1.5W balance as the technician left. I reminded him, it seems like the situation is getting severe again. It might be a good idea to stock up on some food. I went to the rooftop to check on the solar panel installation and took the opportunity to examine the rooftop structure. The parapet was 8 meters high, which meant it was nearly impossible to see inside from the outside, making it a usable space. 2 hours later, the installation of 3 wind-solar hybrid panels was completed, the technician mentioned. These are photovoltaic generators, in case of a power outage. They can even keep the fridge running to ensure the food doesn't spoil. The remaining 3 sets were moved to a storage room for backup. The technician conducted a power test on the solar panels, repeating it 3 times to ensure there were no issues. Meanwhile, the curtains were also installed. The backup set was temporarily placed in the storage room, and I settled the final payment of $10,000. While the technician packed up his tools, I once again reminded him about the worsening situation and to stock up on food. I urgently hired 2 housekeepers through a local app to clean the house, not out of laziness, but because there was still much to do. On WeChat, I discussed with Damien about telling my parents over dinner at their place tonight, preparing them to move into the new house tomorrow. Then, I messaged Declan, my brother-in-law who works in the provincial capital, to take a leave of absence today and buy a high-speed train ticket to come home tomorrow. I didn't tell my parents about this plan because they had passed away due to an accident when I was in middle school. My phone kept receiving pickup codes for parcels, as the deliveries I ordered a few days ago were arriving sequentially. During dinner, Damien seriously spoke to my parents about the impending zombie apocalypse, which they dismissed as ludicrous, accusing the younger generation of watching too many movies and having wild imaginations. After much persuasion from Damien, my parents reluctantly agreed to temporarily move into the new house. We scheduled to help them move their luggage the following afternoon. On the way back with Dean, I sent a message to Dean's teacher. Hello teacher, Dean will be absent for a week due to a slight fever and cough. He will return to school once he is better. I then went to collect the parcels I had purchased a few days ago. Despite being mentally prepared, I was still surprised by the sheer volume of packages. Damien made 4 trips using our regular 5-seater sedan to bring all the parcels to our living room. After wrapping up his tasks early, Damien planned to start his annual leave tomorrow. He rented a small van online, prepaid the rental for 5 days, and planned to pick it up the next day, intending to move without hiring a moving company as we weren't moving furniture or appliances. Lately, I've been sleeping restlessly, with interrupted dreams throughout the night, leaving me groggy each morning. After breakfast, I dropped Dean off at his grandparents' place, and my husband went to pick up the van he rented yesterday. Declan messaged in the WeChat group that he was already on the high-speed train and would be home in about 5 hours. A message from an unknown number popped up on my phone. 5 days until the zombie siege. As the day mentioned in the message drew closer, I felt an inexplicable sense of panic and fear. Damien and I repeatedly moved items back and forth because the new house was still in the renovation and moving phase. Due to the low occupancy rate in the community, our activities went unnoticed. When I delivered 2 packs of cigarettes to the security guard, I mentioned, we'll be moving a lot of stuff in the next 2 or 3 days. Sorry for the inconvenience. Afterward, they let our car pass without any issues. With Declan's help in the afternoon, our pace significantly improved. I packed the essential items at home while Damien and Declan handled the transportation. We completed the planned day's work 3 hours ahead of schedule. Our family of 6 gathered in the new house, held a brief family meeting, and even my in-laws' attitudes had changed. Joining us in our stocking up efforts, we all went out for a hot pot dinner. Enjoying a rare moment of respite amidst the hectic moving and preparations, we headed to the largest supermarket in the city center to make our purchases. We split into 2 teams of 3, my team, consisting of Damien, Dean, and myself, went straight to the home goods section and informed the staff that we were contractors preparing to start work on a building project and needed to purchase a large quantity of household items. The staff immediately contacted the duty manager. After reviewing our list, the manager asked if we needed delivery services. We declined, requesting that the items be sent to the underground parking garage instead, as we planned to transport them back to the construction site ourselves. Damien exchanged phone numbers with the manager, who then sent someone to prepare our order, which included a variety of items such as 1,000 sets of disposable underwear, 10 bedding sets, 10 down quilts, 5 summer air conditioning quilts, 20 pairs of cotton shoes, 20 pairs of slippers, 30 sets of thick home clothes, 30 sets of seasonal home clothes per person, 15 military coats, 500 vacuum bags of various sizes, 5 alcohol stoves, 30 boxes of solid alcohol, 50 boxes of tea bags, 100 boxes of coffee, and 20 boxes of wet wipes. The other team, consisting of my in-laws and Declan, was responsible for the fresh and frozen section. They showed the staff their list, who then packed the items directly, including 50 pounds each of frozen meat, 30 pounds of pork loin, 30 pounds of beef rolls, 30 pounds of lamb rolls, 50 pounds of hot pot meatballs, and 80 packets of hot pot base. The packed items were also to be sent to the underground parking garage. After leaving their contact details, the staff went to prepare the order, and my in-laws pushed 3 shopping carts to pick up additional items they needed. After paying, we had the staff load up 5 shopping carts worth of goods and meet us in the underground parking garage along with the other materials. We then left the supermarket to browse other shops in the mall, stopping at an outdoor equipment store where we picked up 6 100-meter climbing ropes, 8 sleeping bags, 3 tents, 15 sets of waterproof jackets in various thicknesses, 18 pairs of waterproof hiking shoes, 10 baseball bats, and 10 telescopic stun batons. After loading the items from the outdoor equipment store into the car, Damien and my father-in-law received calls from the supermarket staff informing us that the selected goods were being transported. Damien returned to the supermarket to finalize the payment. We verified the quantities in the parking lot, and once confirmed, we drove the truck back home. We moved the items upstairs, stored the perishables in the refrigerator, and left other stuff to be sorted out later. Since the new house had 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, taking turns for showers didn't take long. We agreed to go for a full medical checkup the next morning at 9 a.m. and then everyone headed to their rooms to sleep. Before bed, we ordered clothes and shoes for Dean that would last several years. Damien, Dean, and I stayed in the master bedroom with an attached bathroom, while my in-laws stayed in another room with a bathroom, and Declan took the secondary bedroom. It was another restless night of sleep, but unlike previous nights where the dreams were vague, tonight's dreams became much clearer, causing me more unease. On the way to the hospital, my phone received a message from an unknown number stating, "For days until the zombie siege." This message, aligning with the clarity of my dreams, was unsettling. Yet I reassured myself that it was just a reflection of my thoughts during the day, not something to be anxious about. Fortunately, the medical checkup didn't reveal any major issues. Although my mother-in-law had slightly high blood pressure, and I had some stomach issues, we got some prescriptions filled at the hospital. Afterwards, we stopped by every pharmacy along the way to purchase medications from a pre-prepared list and visited every convenience store to buy various sizes of mineral water and drinks, loading them directly into our truck. We also stopped at 3 water stations, ordering 50 barrels of 18L water each to be picked up later in the afternoon. Citing the construction site's needs, the managers, seeing our truck, had no suspicions. With the truck fully loaded, we decided to head back to our new home to unload. After unloading, my in-laws mentioned they needed to return to their hometown to prepare some things. Declan also suggested installing 2 filtered storage tanks on the roof, which could be used to collect rainwater during water outages. His parents went back to their hometown's farm and bought 30 free-range chickens and 20 ducks, which the farm helped prepare, along with 50 kilograms each of pork, beef, and ribs, all cut into pieces and packed. They bought 100 kilograms of cured sausages, cured meat, and various dried fish from a cured meat shop, items that could be stored for a long time. At the farmer's market, they purchased cabbages, kelp, radishes, and other vegetables suitable for pickling, as well as 15 boxes of vinegar, 10 kilograms of chili powder, 15 kilograms of sugar, various seasonings in boxes, 50 highly sealed pickling jars, and some seeds and nutrient-rich soil for growing vegetables and fruits. Thinking of their grandson Dean, who was growing up, they bought 20 more chickens rich in rutin, 2 rearing boxes, 30 bags of chicken feed, 30 bags of bedding, and 2 incubators. In the afternoon, Damien and Declan borrowed a cart from 3 water stations to transport bottled water, while I stayed home with Dean, organizing a house full of supplies. The living room was so full, only a narrow walkway remained. I moved things around to create a small space, set up Dean's building block table, and let him play while I continued the lengthy task of organizing supplies. For hours later, Damien and Declan had transported all the water barrels back and drove to town to pick up the in-laws. By the time they returned, it was nearly 8 p.m., and everyone was famished. After unloading the supplies and storing the meat in the refrigerator, we went out for dinner at a tea house. After a busy day, everyone washed up and went to bed. Before sleeping, I kept the computer and tablet on to download various TV shows, movies, variety shows, and ebooks to a USB drive. The next morning, I found that Damien and Declan had already left, with no indication of their plans. After breakfast with Dean and my mother-in-law, I let Dean watch cartoons on the tablet. Checking my phone, I saw a mysterious message: 3 days until the zombie siege. I put down the phone and continued with my mother-in-law to sort, label, and organize supplies in order of use, making them easy to access. Looking at the ample supplies, I marveled at how 3 cobblers with their wits combined equal zhuge liang, realizing many items on my checklist were still unprepared. By the end of the day, we had neatly stored everything. In the evening, Damien and the others brought back 200 bags of cat litter, 8 rolls of soundproofing cotton and glue, 2 foldable treadmills, some dumbbells and other fitness equipment, some unknown tools, 5 steel crossbows, 40 boxes of steel balls, 2 crowbars, and 2 sets of repair tools that could be life-saving, as well as a rented all-terrain motorhome, fully fueled and parked in the underground parking, as a backup plan. From that point, we decided not to leave the house unless absolutely necessary. A text message arrived as expected. 2 days until the zombie siege. My mother-in-law started pickling various vegetables at home, while Damien and Declan liquidated all their assets and converted them into gold, knowing that money would be worthless in a post-apocalyptic world, but gold would still hold value. They also retrieved several days' worth of parcels accumulated at the courier station, and spent other times installing cameras and reinforcing the house. Using the excuse of paying the property management fee, I inquired about the neighborhood's situation. Currently, about 30 households were residing, including ours. Pretending to complain about the worsening epidemic, I advised the property staff to stock up on food, then headed home. These past days, busy preparing supplies, I hadn't had time to follow the news online. Tonight, after Dean went to sleep, I browsed websites like Weibo and found that several densely populated cities had reported incidents resembling rabies attacks. Looking at the full house of supplies, which could last 3 to 4 years, I hoped for the best from the authorities. Chatting with Damien and browsing various websites, we suddenly saw a newly updated video. A man was bitten on the carotid artery by someone suspected of having rabies and collapsed unconscious. On the way to the hospital, he suddenly twisted and rose up, his neck rotating 180 degrees as his eyes turned a deep gray. He opened his mouth and bit the person who was taking him to the hospital. The vehicle swerved and crashed into a roadside flower bed. The comment section exploded instantly, with everyone exclaiming, "The apocalypse has arrived." I woke up from another restless sleep, greeted by a message from an unknown number stating, "The zombie siege is just 1 day away." I tried calling back, but it was still a disconnected number. Looking at the unusually somber southern sky, and considering the increasingly vivid dreams I've been having lately, I realized I had no choice but to take things one step at a time. I continued searching for clues on various platforms. The video from last night was no longer available online. Everything seemed peaceful and prosperous, but I knew that the more things were hidden, the more likely something big was about to happen. Faced with the gloomy weather and the unknown fears it brought, I felt an inexplicable panic. The answers seemed on the verge of revealing themselves. Watching Dean happily running around, I worried about how to keep him safe in a society on the brink of collapse. Facing the dark side of humanity, Damien sensed my mood and took my hand, comforting me with, "Fiona, don't be afraid." He pulled me into his arms, adding, "As long as the family stays together, no matter what comes tomorrow, we'll protect our home and Dean." He always had a way of making me feel secure. He kissed me and led me to the sofa to have some coffee. Then, a message alert went off. The zombies have begun their siege. The outbreak was now in full swing. With only a few days of peace left, things were moving faster than expected. Turning on the TV, broadcasts were filled with news of the newbie flu virus, urging everyone to stock up on supplies and stay home. The known modes of transmission were through bites and scratches. If anyone was bitten or scratched, they were urged to report it to the community immediately. I saw a post online from someone named Dr. Stating, "This virus is fierce, spreading rapidly from one creature to another. From injury to infection takes just 2 or 3 minutes. Infected individuals exhibit abnormal behavior, are bloodthirsty, sensitive to sound and light, feel no pain, and possess great strength. Currently, there are no treatment options available in hospitals, and ours has started to see infections. I want to flee, but my duty as a doctor is to face this. If I don't update this, it means I hope everyone stays safe." We immediately held a family meeting to discuss what we saw on TV and online. My mother-in-law assured us, "We are well prepared. As long as we don't go outside, we'll be safe." My father-in-law was less optimistic, noting, "It might not be that simple. It looks like our peaceful days are numbered." Watching Dean play at home, I was relieved that Damien and Declan had recently soundproofed necessary areas. I mentioned, "I spoke to the property management yesterday, above the 15th floor. We are the only residents. Let's lock the stairwell doors from the 16th floor up." The men in the family took heavy locks and barricades to secure the doors from the 16th to the 21st floors and also locked the door leading to the rooftop. We plan to stop the building's elevators tomorrow, depending on the situation, and scatter some construction debris at the entrance to create the illusion of an unoccupied building. The TV news looped announcements. The virus situation is uncontrollable. We urge the public to stay patient at home and avoid unnecessary outings. Please trust that the nation will not abandon any citizen." Flipping through social media, I saw images of crowded supermarkets as everyone frantically stocked up. From this moment, we begin taking turns keeping watch at night. This disaster has indeed arrived. Damien and I teamed up, as did my father-in-law and Declan. My mother-in-law took responsibility for the family's daily needs and slept with Dean, so she didn't take part in the night watch. Tonight, Damien and I began our shift. We sat at the bay window covered with a privacy film. Lifting a small corner of the blackout curtain, we set up a telescope on a tripod at the window and started our first night of vigilance. Declan handed us his phone to show a video from a workgroup chat. In the city's main thoroughfare, a man was sprawled on the ground, his arms bulging with veins as his body convulsed violently. Suddenly, he sprang up and lunged towards the crowd of onlookers. The chat group with over 300 members exploded with messages. This isn't a virus, it's a freaking zombie. Zombies are here. It's the apocalypse. Everyone stock up on supplies, I said. The disaster has finally arrived, and shared the increasingly vivid dreams I'd been having with them. The atmosphere turned somewhat somber. Declan went to his parents' room, informed them about the situation, and advised them to rest early since tough times were ahead. Damien and I stayed up all night watching over the neighborhood. Nothing unusual happened. The most activity we saw was residents going in and out to buy and move supplies. Early in the morning, Grandma got up to make breakfast and said tenderly, "Eat up and then go to sleep." When I got up in the afternoon, my usually reticent father-in-law was busy checking every nook and cranny of the house. Grandma, who was still napping with Dean, hadn't woken up yet. Howe was piloting a drone outside on the main road to scout the area. As we ate self-heating hot pot, we watched the drone's footage. The bustling streets of yesterday were now a mess. The lively malls had turned into ruins. People who were someone's father, mother, or child just yesterday were now bloodthirsty monsters devoid of pain and emotion. Seeing that the community's gates were locked and no one was allowed in or out, we felt temporarily safe. After finishing the hot pot, I stopped the elevator on the 21st floor and cut the power. Although irresponsible to others, in these extreme times, we had to look out for ourselves first. As human nature is inherently selfish, Damien started running on the treadmill. Howe and my father-in-law went to rest to gather energy for the night watch. While I helped Dean feed the chickens, Grandma began planting some vegetables and fruits on the balcony. As we were unsure about the future and didn't dare to plant on the rooftop just yet, the television and radio were still broadcasting non-stop. Uncontrollable virus outbreak. The public is urged to stay home and wait patiently. Do not go out unless necessary. Please trust that the nation will not abandon any citizen. On the first day of the outbreak, the internet, water, and electricity were still functioning. There was knocking at the community gate. I immediately sent Dean to play with his blocks. Damien came off the treadmill and saw from the balcony a young man desperately banging on the gate, cursing at the security guard to let him in. Soon, two people, likely his parents, emerged from the opposite building. The mother pleaded with the security guard to open the gate. After hesitating for a moment, the guard took out the keys and said, "Come in but don't wander around. Stay home, and report any issues immediately." Through my binoculars, I clearly saw faint bloodstains on the man's sleeve, and because of the noise he made banging on the gate, many zombies had started to gather. My heart sank. Just as the guard opened the gate, the man mutated. His unsuspecting mother happily took his hand and walked home, only for the man to bite her shoulder moments after entering the community. The guard ran back to fetch tools to restrain them and call for help. The man's father realized what was happening and tried to separate them, but it was too late. His wife was already showing signs of turning. The man, in deep sorrow, kept looking back as he ran towards his home, watching his family die right before his eyes. A painful despair. The security guard frantically dialed the busy emergency lines, unaware of the mutating mother and son slowly approaching him. Amidst the security guard's screams, I put down my binoculars. Today is November 6th, 2055. 7 days since the outbreak began, and things are somewhat better than expected. Internet, water, and electricity are still running, and I'm documenting this period in my journal. The air raid siren sounded, announcing, "Please stay at home and wait patiently. The nation is doing its utmost. We will not abandon any citizen." Our family was behind the curtains, watching the helicopters in the sky. After turning off the broadcast, 5 packages of supplies were dropped into the garden of our community. I watched as a mother and her 2 sons, along with the security guard who had been under the scorching sun for 5 to 7 days, frantically searched for the source of the sound. From a corner of the curtain, we saw a woman on the 16th floor across from us. She was holding a piece of clothing with a Bluetooth speaker wrapped inside it with tape. Minutes later, she threw the clothing bundle in the opposite direction. The Bluetooth speaker inside started playing "The Vast Sky Is My Love" under the endlessly rolling green hills. Flowers bloom. The 3-person zombie team surrounding the supplies left the package and headed towards the sound. In that building, a man quickly opened his door, ran to grab 2 large bags of supplies, and swiftly returned to the stairwell. After seeing someone go out to fetch the supplies, more and more people started running out, and the noise increased, leading to a scramble. Hearing the noise, the trio of zombies started moving crazily towards this side. Seeing this, the neighbors quickly ran back into the stairwell, some even forgetting to close the main door, including ours. The weather has been getting hotter these days, reaching a shocking 40 degrees Celsius in November. One evening while cooking, my mother-in-law suddenly said, "Why isn't the rice cooker working? Is it broken?" I immediately tried to turn on the lights, but there was no response. On the 7th day of the zombie outbreak, the power went out, but soon after, The wind energy unit started automatically, and the electricity in our house was restored. With the electricity gone, we anticipated the water would be next, so we started frantically storing water, filling every possible container, and everyone comfortably took a bath. Our family sat around the dining table with all the curtains drawn, just the two small lights in the dining room on. While eating, I mentioned, based on my observations over the past few days, zombies are very sensitive to sound, light, and living beings, but they lack senses. During the day, if it's quiet, they are mostly stationary, possibly due to the heat. At night, their activity increases, they wander and growl softly, and any sound can trigger them into a frenzy, Damien said. Now the G family is distributing supplies, and order can still be maintained. After all, no one wants to risk going out unless it's a matter of life and death. But if the supplies stop, many people will take the opportunity to loot. We brought out the portable air conditioners, placing one in each room and one in the living room. We dared not use the wall-mounted air conditioners anymore, afraid that their noise would reveal our presence and that we still had electricity. A month after the outbreak, the temperature had soared to 43 degrees Celsius. Our fears materialized as the G family had not distributed supplies for 2 weeks, and the number of zombies gathering around the community was increasing. Tonight, Damien and I were on watch, chatting while keeping an eye on the situation outside. As I was getting sleepy, I suddenly saw a car approaching the community. The sound of the engine and the brightness of the headlights were like a bomb at this time. Indeed, a group of zombies followed behind 2 cars, gradually moving towards the vehicles. 3 people got out of the front vehicle, wrapped up tightly. They quickly opened the community gate. The vehicles rushed in, and the gate was swiftly closed again. There were many wandering zombies inside the community. The men took out axes and long knives, efficiently dealing with one zombie after another. This was my first time seeing people attack zombies, mainly aiming for their heads and necks. This taught me that targeting the head is the simplest and most effective way to deal with zombies. Watching the men cooperate with each other made me even more worried about our future. I couldn't tell if these people were friends or foes. In the morning, after telling my parents and Declan about the situation, we saw that the group had set up tents downstairs. We need to be even more cautious now to avoid letting them discover our presence. It's been almost 3 months since the zombie outbreak, and there have been no supplies distributed for a while now. I'm unsure how the neighbors are coping. I went to sleep feeling uneasy, and the scenes in my dreams became increasingly vivid. When I woke up in the afternoon, I saw that the bean sprouts my mother-in-law planted last night had started to grow. Regardless of the situation, there always seems to be a glimmer of hope. I took Dean to feed the Rhode Island chickens, which lately have become my treasures, laying more and more eggs, small, coin-sized ones, from which we can collect 4 or 5 daily. Dean was both curious and delighted at this sight, and seeing his smile brightened my mood considerably. The zombies within our complex have been cleared by the group downstairs, but outside, their numbers are growing. Suddenly, Declan said, "Come quickly." The people downstairs have started to search each floor systematically. It doesn't look good. We immediately went to see. They left 2 men in the car to keep watch, while the other 8 entered the building on the far left. We intermittently heard them cursing and violently breaking down doors. At that moment, I found myself wishing there were zombies downstairs to hinder their actions. Dad and Damien quietly went out to check our building's fire escape door, making sure it hadn't been tampered with since we last locked it. Then they came back home, secured the door, and added 2 door blockers. We heard 3 gunshots. These people were actually armed. Damien quickly took out the steel ball crossbow we had bought, ready to use if needed. Shortly after the gunshots, we saw 3 men dragging a woman in her 30s in a box of supplies downstairs. The woman's face was streaked with tears, and her clothes were disheveled, while the men yelled at her to shut up, or we'll throw you out to the zombies. The woman sat on the grass downstairs, her eyes vacant. The 2 men who stayed behind walked over to her and began to assault her in a way that was less than human. We clenched our fists in anger, helpless to intervene. Unable to watch any longer, my mother-in-law turned away to cook, cursing, "These beasts deserve to be chopped into 1,000 pieces. Even frying them wouldn't quench my anger." By the afternoon, the group had finished searching one building, taking 2 men downstairs, leaving them aside, and started to cook. Visibility was poor at night, and they dared not make any rash moves. In the deep of the night, only the woman's anguished screams filled the air. None of us could bear to watch, but we all knew what was happening, and no one spoke a word. After observing for several days, I noticed they had completed searching 5 buildings and would reach ours in 2 days. I personally witnessed them killing and throwing out the weak, sick, and elderly, keeping only the young men and women. During the day, they forced them to work, and any resistance was met with brutal beatings. At night, they committed unspeakable atrocities against the 4 women, but as time passed, I noticed their control over the hostages was loosening, allowing them to move freely downstairs. I observed that one of the female hostages seemed to be in a relationship with one of the male hostages. For the past 2 nights, I saw the girl subtly moving closer to the main gate of the complex, apparently observing something. The uninvited guests also discussed no longer staying in tents but moving to the 6th floor of the building they had searched yesterday. The next day, they searched the building next door, perhaps due to low occupancy or a long lack of supplies. The neighbors might have starved to death, and they found little. We took turns keeping a 24-hour watch on these people, watching them organize supplies, preparing to move to the 6th floor early the next morning. That night, the girl tightly hugged one of the boys, apologizing, saying, "I'm sorry, you have to survive." Then she pretended to wander aimlessly toward the complex's main gate, desperately pulling on the lock, attempting to open it to let the zombies in. Hearing the noise, the zombies at the gate madly rushed over. Realizing she couldn't open the gate, the girl quickly extended her hand outside to let the zombies grab at her, then swiftly retracted it, wiping the blood on her pants. The girl's actions not only incited a zombie riot, this incident also angered the uninvited guests. 3 men were dragging the girl back, kicking and punching her, yet I noticed a smile on the girl's lips. The boy wanted to rush over, but the girl desperately shook her head, shouting for him not to come, urging him to survive. Suddenly, the girl grabbed one of the men's hands and bit it fiercely, causing him to exclaim angrily, "Damn, this bitch actually bit me." In her last moments of clarity, the girl dashed into the tent, where a cacophony of curses filled the air, eventually turning into low growls of rage. The hostages outside scattered, running back to their homes, all but one man who hesitated to leave. A girl, through her sacrifice, saved others and indirectly saved our family. Half a year after the zombie outbreak, we lived day by day, gradually adapting to a cautious existence. During this period, 2 groups visited our community, but from what we observed, they were just looking for a place to stay without any intention of invading others' homes. The zombies downstairs, once uninvited guests, had become increasingly sluggish over time, mostly remaining still under the shade of trees. The heatwave lasted for half a year, and our fans and portable air conditioners never stopped working. With such severe weather, it was hard to imagine how others were faring. For us, the only upside of this abnormal weather was not having to worry about electricity. Since the power and internet went out, we kept the radio on daily, afraid of missing any information. However, for half a year, the only message that kept repeating was, "Please stay at home and wait patiently. The nation is making efforts and will not abandon any citizen." There were no other updates. Today, while Dean was fiddling with the radio, imitating our grandfather, he accidentally tuned into a new broadcast. "Dear citizens, these times have been hard, but the G family has been tirelessly seeking solutions. Significant progress has been made, and safe havens have been established in various provincial capitals. Those who wish to move there should do so safely. Please share this information with others, take good care of yourselves, and trust in the G family to provide a stable and harmonious home." Listening to the broadcast, our family was filled with mixed emotions. We held a family meeting and unanimously decided to stay at home rather than head to the refuge. We would reevaluate the situation later since our current supplies were sufficient. We wanted to spread this message to our neighbors, unsure if any were still alive. We used a drone equipped with a small speaker, recorded the radio message on a phone, and connected it via Bluetooth to the speaker, to avoid exposing ourselves. I launched the drone from our window while Declan controlled it. Slowly maneuvering it around the neighboring building, Damien played the recording, and the drone hovered in the garden, continuously broadcasting the message. The zombies downstairs, not used to such noise, growled wildly beneath the drone. After half an hour, through the telescope, we only saw some activity from the 2 groups that arrived later. It seemed the others were. They waved at the drone, and after some discussion, we decided to go and check the situation. Declan flew the drone over, and they attached a note to it. Declan navigated the drone around the back of the building, circling the neighboring one before flying it back to us. We had to be cautious, not knowing the exact situation of the others. We opened the note, which read, "Strangers, hello, we are retired veterans, led by Captain Gong. We are a group of 12, originally planning to drive to Tibet but now taking refuge here temporarily. Our food and water are almost gone. If you have enough supplies, could you spare us some? We have nothing to trade, but if needed, we are willing to escort you to the safe haven." Reading the note, after some discussion, we agreed to send them supplies because of a natural affinity towards soldiers, yet we still had to keep our location hidden. We used 2 heavy lifting drones to deliver the supplies, trip after trip. On our final delivery, they attached a bag to the drone. Upon retrieving the drone and opening the bag, we found a handgun with 8 bullets and a note that read, "In chaotic times, human nature is to be feared. I hope this can save you at a critical moment, though I hope you'll never need to use it." Half a month later, I stood on the balcony and watched them drive 2 small vans out of the underground garage, presumably to find more supplies. I prayed for their safe return. 3 days later, my heart settled when I saw their convoy return to the complex's entrance. Perhaps their presence in the complex added an extra layer of security for us. Over the past 6 months, we had flown drones up to 10 kilometers outside the complex to scout the area. The streets were cluttered with vehicles crashed haphazardly into each other, amidst a scattering of numerous zombies and various corpses. Watching our once bustling small town now shattered was disheartening. I couldn't even imagine what large, densely populated cities looked like now. Dreams began to surface. In the 9th month since the outbreak, 5 SUVs and 2 small trucks arrived at our complex. They seemed to be looking for a place to settle, yet not quite. They cleared the zombies around the main gate and those beneath our building, then began to closely monitor the surroundings. 5 days later, we realized they too had drones as they were remotely inspecting each floor of the buildings. I immediately instructed everyone to draw the curtains tightly, ensuring not a single gap was visible. Dean was also brought into the room to keep quiet, and our family went into high alert, listening to the other party's drones hovering outside our windows for a long time. They might have discovered something, or perhaps nothing, but none of us dared to make any rash moves, only waiting quietly. Finally, after half an hour, the drones left, and tonight was destined to be another sleepless one. Since the last unexpected visit turned into a zombie incident, it had been a while since we last had an all-night vigil. It seemed we had to resume it tonight. Lately, apart from observing the zombies, I've also been watching the skies, which, despite the ongoing heat, were growing increasingly overcast. Just like in my dreams, I knew a sudden drop in temperature and a storm were coming. At around 11 p.m., we faintly heard someone smashing the fire door downstairs. They had found us. While my mother-in-law stayed with Dean to sleep, we quickly grabbed the steel crossbow and the gun given to us by a former soldier, along with 4 telescopic batons and 4 baseball bats for easier handling. The smashing noise wasn't loud. They might have been on the 16th or 17th floor, unclear if they had firearms. We chose to stay and defend our home rather than expose ourselves to danger. We kept watching the door through the surveillance camera. 2 hours passed, and they hadn't come up yet. But the noise had softened. Maybe they were resting, or perhaps they were plotting other strategies. Strangely, there was no movement until about 5 a.m., and no one appeared in the surveillance footage. We couldn't believe that they would just give up. I told my father-in-law and Declan to eat something and rest for a bit. They would take over in the afternoon, as the situation required 24-hour surveillance on those people. Damien and I drank a cup of coffee to stay alert. Watching the surveillance and observing the street below through a telescope, it was already 9 a.m., and the sun was obscured by thick clouds, making the sky as dim as if it were 8 p.m. Through the telescope, I saw the group driving an SUV out of the complex. A bad feeling surged within me. They were probably going to find weapons or tools to break through the door, as my mother-in-law prepared lunch. And I took Dean to collect eggs. Damien suddenly said, "It's raining," and it came on so quickly. It came down like water pouring from the sky. I took Dean to the window, and with excitement, he said, "Mom, it's raining. Let's go splash in the puddles." I regretfully told Dean, "We can't go out just yet. There are bad people outside. Can we wait a bit longer?" Dean nodded sadly, his eyes brimming with tears. It pained my heart to see him like this, so I pulled him close into a tight embrace. The group that had banged on our door last night was now hurriedly packing up their tents and moving into the 3rd floor of the building across from us. An hour later, the rain intensified. My father-in-law woke up and asked, "Is it raining?" I thought I heard the sound of rain. My mother-in-law replied, "Yes, it's strange how suddenly it started." Damien mentioned that the SUVs that went out had returned, but the rain was so heavy we couldn't see if they brought anything back. During lunch, Declan also woke up, looked out at the torrential downpour through the darkened window, and exclaimed, "Wasn't it just 1:40 p.m. when I checked my phone? Why is it so dark outside?" While eating lunch, I shared with my family the recurring dreams I'd been having. About 5 days after receiving a strange message, I began having sporadic dreams. At first, they were blurry and I couldn't make out anything. About half a month after the zombie outbreak, the dreams became more frequent and started to clear up. Half a year after the outbreak, following a long period of high temperatures, the skies would darken, signaling the end of the heat wave. Then came the torrential rains and a sudden drop in temperature. What's terrifying is that after the heavy rain, there would be an influx of disease-carrying rats and cockroaches. Most coastal areas would experience tsunamis, triggering tectonic shifts and causing major earthquakes around fault lines, with minor tremors occurring nationwide. After I finished speaking, my family fell into a long silence. Damien broke the silence, saying, "Although the future holds many uncertainties, fortunately, we know some of what might happen and can prepare accordingly." My in-laws nodded in agreement. "Right, we lack nothing here. This isn't a coastal city or a seismic zone. We'll surely get through this safely." After lunch, my mother-in-law washed the dishes while I and Damien quietly went to the rooftop to collect rainwater in buckets, as our water supply was dwindling. After she finished the dishes, my mother-in-law tipped Dean for a nap. Damien and I, after finishing our chores, locked the door and rested too. My father-in-law and Declan took over the afternoon watch, mainly keeping an eye on the group across in the 3rd floor building. Perhaps due to the heavy rain, there was no movement from that group. After dinner, my mother-in-law and I took out the quilts and covers as the temperature had noticeably dropped. From 45 degrees Celsius, it had fallen to 10 degrees in 3 days. We replaced all the bedding with quilts. After half a month of continuous heavy rain, the temperature had dropped to minus 10 degrees Celsius. Without sunlight, our daily electricity storage was decreasing, barely a few kilowatts left. Cooking had also shifted to a one-pot hot pot style. Trying to conserve electricity for heating, the group in the opposite building remained inactive. Perhaps the sudden heavy rain and drop in temperature disrupted their plans, so we began to lower our guard against them. The information we received during this time came from the radio. Heavy rain has struck nationwide, all refuge centers have been flooded, and people are urgently evacuating. This downpour lasted for 2.5 months. During this period, aside from using the telescope to monitor the opposite building and the main gate, we spent the rest of our time exercising, playing with Dean, and rewatching variety shows and movies we had previously downloaded. The rain was so heavy that without a telescope, we couldn't see anything beyond 3 meters, and we dared not risk sending out drones to explore the situation outside. Our small town was situated relatively high, and after 2.5 months of continuous heavy rain, has turned into a water world. The water in our community has already spread to the 4th floor, and the situation outside is only getting worse. Damien and I sat on the windowsill, discussing. This rain has been pouring for months, and it looks like the temperature will continue to drop even further. 13. Discovering other survivors. Today marks a full year since the zombie outbreak, with temperatures plummeting to minus 20 degrees. The heavy rain stopped 10 days ago, replaced by thick snowfall. The electricity we generate each day is no longer sufficient for daily consumption. It's barely enough for cooking. I found some smokeless coal I had bought earlier and suggested, let's move the mattresses and blankets to the living room. Starting tonight, we'll use the smokeless coal for heating, for everyone's safety and to conserve resources. We should all rest together in the living room, everyone agreed, and Damien, Declan, and my father-in-law began moving the mattresses. Meanwhile, I walked around the house with Dean, figuring out how to keep the air circulating without letting in too much cold air or revealing our presence, which could attract unwanted trouble. Eventually, I decided to leave a small crack open in all the windows and not close the doors to any rooms to maximize airflow and prevent carbon dioxide poisoning. After finishing these preparations, it was evening. We quietly launched 2 drones from our window, sending them in opposite directions outside the community. We were too eager to know the situation outside. As my family watched the footage transmitted by the drones, the water outside seemed to have risen to the 4th or 5th floors. Vehicles were scattered across the streets, encased in ice, and we could see some zombies frozen beneath the ice layer. I couldn't help but wonder, once the ice melts, will those zombies simply perish? Or will they continue to stubbornly survive? Suddenly, Damien pointed out, it looks like there are people in the commercial building at the city square, and quite a few of them. The city square is the largest complex nearby, consisting of 2 connected buildings. The layout is as follows. Floors 1 to 6 are for dining, entertainment, and shopping. Floors 7 to 11 are hotel accommodations, and floors 12 to 20 are mixed-use office spaces. They noticed our drone and waved at us. Damien maneuvered the drone closer, but we couldn't hear their voices through the glass. From the footage, it seemed like they were signaling for help, yet also telling us to leave quickly. We tried to get a closer look to understand the specific situation inside, but suddenly someone opened a window and threw something at our drone, trying to bring it down. After being hit, the drone dropped for a bit, but Damien quickly controlled it to return, circling around the back of the community before flying back through our window. Declan also flew the other drone back in. My mother-in-law checked the time and started preparing dinner, while Damien and Declan played with Dean. I kept rewatching the footage from the city square. I noticed that there were quite a few survivors there, from the 9th to the 17th floor, likely hotel staff, guests, office workers who couldn't make it home, or refugees. The city square has 2 large supermarkets, and if they managed to stock up enough supplies at the onset of the zombie outbreak, surviving wouldn't be a problem. After reviewing the footage multiple times, I realized that the survivors initially waved us over because they wanted to tell us something, but when the door to their room was opened, they signaled us to leave quickly, followed by someone opening the window to throw things at our drone. I murmured to myself, perhaps there's no longer any social order there, and most people are suffering terribly. During dinner, I shared my analysis with my family. Declan suggested that we try sending the drone again the next day to check. I proposed, let's not take any risks for now. We can't expose our location lightly since we still have people inside our community to watch out for. We can't afford to attract more people here. In the end, everyone supported my suggestion. After all, managing to fend for ourselves in these chaotic times is already challenging enough. Chapter 14, Hell on Earth. When will it end? Today marks the 15th month since the zombie outbreak, and the temperature has risen to around 5 degrees. The thick layers of ice have significantly melted. During these 2 months, we occasionally heard the sound of drones outside, knowing they were sent by the unwelcome guests across from us. They haven't given up on invading us. And I suspect they'll launch an attack once the temperature rises and the internal flooding recedes. In the 16th month of the zombie outbreak, the temperature rose to around 10 degrees Celsius, and the ice had completely melted, with the floodwater receding to the level of the first floor of buildings. As the temperature increased, the air was filled with an unpleasant, fishy stench, and the bodies of various decomposed creatures floated on the water's surface. Despite keeping doors and windows tightly shut every day, we couldn't completely block out the smell. Dean and I moved 3 air purifiers into the living room and turned them on, and we sprayed alcohol disinfectant around all the door and window gaps. During this time, Damien and Declan sent out drones to scout the outside, mainly to see if any zombies had survived. The footage from the drones showed that zombies were indeed still around, wandering in the water. And there were quite a few of them. What shocked me even more was that, in addition to the resilient zombies, there were also vigorous rats and cockroaches. Many rats were swimming in the water, and numerous rats and cockroaches were climbing on the buildings. Seeing this footage, I was so disgusted that I couldn't eat anything all day. I have a particular fear of insects, especially rats and roaches. And the roaches in the south are not only large but can also fly. After the drone returned, I immediately disinfected it using the alcohol spray I had prepared. During dinner, the radio broadcasted a message. After the disaster, outbreaks like the plague and other viruses are common. Please, everyone, take measures against rats and diseases. The G family's research has made significant progress, and their work is nearing completion. The G family has been working hard. Please hold on a little longer. I immediately said, we need to hurry and bring back the stored water from the rooftop. The rats will probably be coming soon. Right after I spoke, my mother-in-law immediately tapped my father-in-law on the head and said, stop eating and go bring the water back now. Damien and Declan immediately put down their chopsticks and went with my father-in-law to the rooftop to start the long process of transporting water. Seeing this, my mother-in-law and I burst out laughing. In these fearful days, every laugh was precious. They carried empty buckets and bottles upstairs, filled them with water from the large barrels, and carefully brought them down without spilling a drop. After bringing the water down, I quickly added purification tablets to it and filtered it. I then tested it with a testing pen and felt relieved when I saw there were no issues. After transporting the water, my father-in-law and the others quickly took a bath and then continued eating, since food is also precious and nothing should be wasted in these apocalyptic times. I let Dean play with his Lego blocks while I took a telescope to the window to check out the situation across the street. As I opened a corner of the curtain, dozens of flying cockroaches perched outside startled me, causing me to tremble and drop the telescope on the windowsill. Hearing the noise, the cockroaches started flying chaotically, making me quickly close the curtain and scurry back to the living room. Seeing me terrified, my mother-in-law held my hand tightly, comforting me by saying, they are outside. As long as we keep the windows closed, they can't get in. Once she saw that I was calming down, she confidently went to check all the doors and windows again, sprayed alcohol once more, and placed some insect repellents. I kept mentally reassuring myself, Fiona, don't be afraid. Your family is with you. You can't be afraid. I had a sleepless night, haunted by images of cockroaches and rats every time I closed my eyes, after a breakfast that left me feeling drained. I told my mother-in-law and Damien that I needed to catch up on some sleep. By lunchtime, Damien came to wake me and found me burning up. My temperature was 39.3 degrees Celsius. Damien started frantically grabbing fever patches and fever medicine, while my mother-in-law immediately brought a cup of hot water and had Damien help me sit up to drink it. Then she went to the kitchen to cook some porridge for me. Before leaving, she reminded Damien, give Fiona plenty of hot water to drink. Change her clothes if she sweats a lot, and if she feels cold, remember to fill a hot water bottle for her to hold. After having some porridge and taking my medicine, I continued to sleep for a long time, waking up only at 9 o'clock in the evening. Damien and Declan were chatting and observing from the balcony. When they saw me come out, Damien immediately poured me a cup of hot water and served the porridge he had prepared for me. As I started walking toward the balcony, Declan quickly said, Sister-in-law, please don't come here, just sit on the sofa. It's not a good situation here. I'm afraid it might be too much for you. I paused and asked, are there a lot of rats and cockroaches? Declan nodded and added, there are also zombies and maggots. Frightened, I sat down on the sofa, closed my eyes, and tears began to silently roll down my cheeks. I thought to myself, when will this living hell ever end? Every day, Damien and Declan would describe how rats and cockroaches scurried along the walls, and how the rotting bodies of zombies downstairs were swarming with maggots. Chapter 15, Inducing the Eradication of Zombies and the Four Pests. Today marks the 18th month since the zombie outbreak began. Rats and cockroaches now dominate the streets and buildings as far as the eye can see. The radio broadcasts daily updates on the plague, reporting small-scale outbreaks at many shelters. And even large-scale infections at a few, although they don't mention the number of deaths, just looping prevention tips, self-diagnosis, and self-isolation advice. We all know the situation is grim. 2 months later, the radio announced new progress. Hello, everyone, the G family has not let us down. The drug to eradicate zombies has been developed and will gradually begin the induction eradication along with the extermination of the 4 pests. Please take precautions and stay indoors. Do not go out, and finally, thank you for your trust in the G family. Following this, daily reports of successful induction eradication could be heard on the radio. A month later, after eagerly awaiting, the induction eradication finally commenced in our small city. From the telescope, we saw dozens of helicopters in the sky, each dangling synthetic meat from steel cables at a height of 45 meters. The smell of raw meat, combined with the noise of the helicopters, attracted the zombies and the 4 pests to a pre-prepared area scattered with medicated powder. As the helicopters slowly moved away, we quickly deployed drones to follow from a distance. Once a sufficient number of zombies and pests had gathered, the person responsible on the helicopter quickly dumped gasoline, followed by the command to increase altitude before dropping the ignition source. After the fires were extinguished, the helicopters reduced altitude to spray large amounts of disinfectant. Then someone from the helicopter crew shouted to our drone, "Stop watching, go home, and keep yourselves safe." This routine continued daily, and it took nearly a month for the J team to eliminate all visible zombies and 4 pests in our city. Over the next week, helicopters were heard repeatedly overhead, spraying disinfectant and medicated powder in phases across the city, checking for any that might have been missed. As they departed, the drone's loudspeaker echoed over our small town. Thank you all for your perseverance over these 22 months. Please continue to stay indoors and wait a little longer until all danger is completely eliminated, and then we can reunite. We also carefully disinfected our home inside and out, taking stock of our supplies in the process. We found that our supplies would only last another 15 months with frugal use, which was faster than expected. I suddenly said, "Oh no. I forgot to send a note to the J team via the drone, warning them about potential tsunamis or earthquakes soon, so the G family can prepare in advance." Damien replied, "Even if we told them, they might not believe us, and it could bring unnecessary trouble." My father-in-law added, "Don't blame yourself. The G family's monitoring equipment is very sophisticated. They probably already know and have strategies in place." I responded, "I hope so." Chapter 16, Confronting the Invaders. With the zombies and 4 pests eliminated, the nights became eerily quiet, heightening our vigilance towards the invaders in the building across from us. It had been a long time without any noise, and we had no idea if they were alive or dead, so we couldn't let our guard down. Declan suggested, "Since they already know about us, why not send a drone to check things out? If necessary, we should strike first. We are running low on supplies, and we must protect what we have." In my heart, I agreed with Declan, but reason told me that we couldn't act that way. If we did, how would we be any different from them? Eventually, we agreed to keep watching and live by the principle of not offending others unless offended. In the following days, we confirmed that the group of intruders was still alive, but there seemed to be disputes among them. The occasional sounds of arguments were out of place in the silent environment. We noticed that they were looking towards our direction from their balcony every day, probably planning their next move. As expected, on the night of the 23rd month since the zombie outbreak began, they launched another attack on us, relentlessly hammering at the fire door. They kept shouting, "You'd better open the door willingly, and we might consider sparing your lives. Otherwise, once we break in, it will be your end." Their voices weren't loud. "They must still have been on the 17th floor, I said. "We can't just wait here. It'll be dangerous when they come up. We need to take the initiative to make them think twice about messing with us." We had already taken out our weapons. We had Grandma take Dean into the room to watch cartoons with the door closed, and Grandpa was ready to back us up from behind the door. Our worst-case scenario was to retreat back into the house. After confirming it was safe outside through the surveillance, Declan, Damien, and I quietly opened the door and went downstairs with our weapons. When we reached the 17th floor, we found them on the 16th floor. Judging from the sounds, there were about 45 people. For safety, we did not go down further. Tensely, we set up at the fire door on the 17th floor. We took out transparent fishing lines and tied 20 strands about 50 centimeters off the floor, securing them with thumbtacks to the walls. If they broke through the door without noticing, they would trip and fall. Damien and Declan went back home to bring down some spare storage racks and piled them between the 17th and 18th floors. When they came back down, I removed the door stopper and the heavy lock from the fire door on the 17th floor, making it easier for them to break in. I also poured the last 5 tubes of transparent superglue we had left from home renovations on the floor in front of the fire door and on the steps, hoping they would slip. Then I retreated to the 18th floor, while Damien and Declan wedged the shelves in the staircase, creating a defensive setup advantageous to us. I then scattered the remaining thumbtacks on the steps where the shelves blocked the way. After all this, 2 hours had passed, as we sat on the stairs drinking water and resting. They had broken through the fire door on the 16th floor and were in front of the 17th floor fire door, continually making harsh threats. According to the plan, I retreated behind the fire door on the 18th floor, ready to lock it if the enemy came up, while Damien and Declan would fall back, and Grandpa would be on standby behind the fire door on the 19th floor, as expected, without the door stopper and heavy lock. They smashed through the 17th floor fire door after 2 hours. Just as we had anticipated, they didn't carefully observe the ground conditions when the door broke open. The first two who entered tripped over the lines and made intimate contact with the super glue, and the others following were also stuck, temporarily immobilized. Without hesitation, Damien and Declan picked up the steel ball crossbows and shot from behind the storage racks, causing confusion among them. The leader, seeing this, pulled out a gun aiming at Damien and Declan. Damien fired 3 steel balls to disrupt the man's focus, while Declan raised the gun given to us by a retired military person, aimed, and shot the man in the thigh, followed by 2 more shots. The leader of the men spoke up, "Let us go, and we won't trouble you again." Damien mockingly replied, "What do you think this place is? Come and go as you please. Since you're here today, you might as well stay." Upon hearing this, the man was stunned for a moment before saying, "Leaving a way out today makes it easier to meet in the future. If you don't let us go now, it will end badly for everyone." Declan, aiming at another man who had fallen to the ground, fired another shot intentionally and said, "We're not here to ask for your opinion. It's been a long time since I handled one of these. I'm a bit rusty. You guys are just in time to help me practice. There are 2 options. Leave immediately or stay here forever." Hearing this, the others quickly agreed. We'll leave," they then said to their leader Donovan. "As long as we live, there's hope. We can always find supplies elsewhere." Donovan glared fiercely at Damien and Declan but eventually helped his men up and left. After confirming from the balcony that all 5 men had exited the building, we securely locked the fire door on the 1820th floor and returned home, back home. Damien and Declan collapsed on the sofa, their shirts soaked with sweat. They relaxed their tense nerves, and fatigue hit them instantly. They indulged in a quick shower before heading to their rooms to rest. Chapter 17. The earthquake arrives. Today marks exactly 2 years since the zombie outbreak, and I know the earthquake is coming soon. This past week, the radio has been reporting some cities are beginning to resume work in reconstruction with considerable success. It also reported frequent tsunamis along coastal areas causing numerous casualties, building collapses, and several coastal cities being flooded. My grandmother and I had already packed 5 climbing bags with essential survival items and food for 5 days, in case we get separated during the earthquake. In the middle of the night, I suddenly woke up with a dizzy headache, a feeling I recognize from experiencing mild earthquakes before. If I'm wrong, please go easy on me. I quickly woke Damien, and then got my grandparents, Dean and Declan, grabbed the climbing bags, locked the door, and opened the fire door, taking the doorstop and lock with us. When we reached the 17th floor, we checked that the adhesive had dried, and decided to quickly head down to the 3rd floor and lock the fire door there. We would assess the situation from there. If the shaking was strong, we would drive to an open area from the underground garage. If it was mild, we would continue to observe, as we all preferred to stay in the shelter we had built. After 24 hours, fortunately, this small southern city wasn't located in an earthquake zone, and we only felt mild tremors. 48 hours passed with no tremors in the last 10 hours. I decided to wait a bit longer before returning home. 72 hours passed with no tremors felt. 96 hours passed still without tremors. 100 hours after the earthquake, we decided to return home. We securely locked the fire door of the 1820th floor and felt like we were reborn upon returning home. The first thing we did was turn on the radio. It reported that many cities had turned to ruins and numerous famous landmarks had been destroyed. Luckily, since the zombie outbreak, many people had moved to refugee homes, and not many lived near earthquake-prone areas, so the number of casualties was relatively low. Chapter 18. Justice may be delayed, but it won't be absent. Today marks 30 months since the zombie outbreak. In most regions, work and production have resumed, and efforts to rebuild homes and restore social systems have begun. The disaster that lasted for 2.5 years has now become a part of history. Standing in the iconic city square where we once gathered, watching people bustling about, Dean joyfully runs around us, embracing the lively atmosphere. With the gradual restoration of the hydroelectric power network, life is also getting back on track. It was only through reading various articles online that we came to understand how, during those 30 months, most people barely survived amidst severe hardships, clinging to life in a hellish existence. Sustained by their trust in the G family, the G family did not let the people down. Despite the difficulties, they remained steadfast on the path to reconstruction, enduring challenges far beyond our imagination. 36 months after the outbreak of the zombie apocalypse, the G family's infrastructure has been largely restored. Recently, the daily headlines have focused on punishing those who, in times of chaos, brought disaster upon the nation and exploited the populace. The news at G's household is continually broadcasting the message: justice may be delayed, but it will never be absent. Thank you to all the family members who have stood firm and supported G's family through the disaster.